We're back. That was a fucking win. Oh my God. Everybody's getting worried. Lose a game to the friggin' Bulls, even though they had probably God knows how many hours of sleep. Got to get on a plane right after dealing with the Kings. Coming off a bunch of losses in a row before that game. Are we going to fall into the play-in? I mean, what can this team do? And then after that first half, I don't know if anybody watching right now is on the Knicks Film School newsletter subscriber halftime Zoom that I do, but I almost felt like I was delivering a eulogy. If this is what this team is, there's not much that they could do in the playoffs because they're just not able to put. What the hell was I thinking? That's a fucking basketball team right there. That is a team that if there was the we back, or the we here season, if there was the we here season that established them as a competent franchise that would make you earn it every time you went out on the floor. And if last year was an announcement of the arrival of we're a little bit better than competent. This season has been about, this team is Thanos. If you're going to come at us, you better go for the head. You better knock us off while you have a chance, because if you let this team linger, whether it's because they come out and they're just not shooting the ball well, or somebody's having an off night, whatever the case may be, if they just don't, if it's not quite clicking all the way, you better knock them out early. You better, because if you don't, and you let them hang, and you let them hang, and you let them hang, they're just going to keep coming. It doesn't matter where they are. It doesn't matter if they're on the road in Milwaukee against a team that theoretically should have been pretty desperate for a win tonight. Theoretically should have gone into halftime and was like, we're almost there. We closed that half on an 8-0 run. We calmed the fires. We're up by 11. Let's give it a push now. Let's give it a real push. Let's go up by 15, 17, 19 points, and let's put these fucking guys away. They didn't do it because that's not part of the character of their team. And there aren't many teams in the league nowadays. For as much as there are a lot of very good teams in the league, there are not a lot of teams out there that have that level of character, where if you give them an inch, they will take a mile, not 7 times out of 10, not 9 times out of 10, but 10 times out of 10. That's the Knicks. That's this year's Knicks. And it's top to bottom on the roster. They finally have a roster where every single person who gets time now, at least I can say this about tonight, that gets time is in lockstep with what everybody else is doing. I see you, Bogey. I saw that. Making me look not like a complete idiot 2.5 months or whatever it's been, however many months after the trade, 2 months later. I appreciate that. But it's everybody. And that's what I love about this team is I could sit here and I should have put on his jersey. I'm staring at it. I could sit here and I could wax poetic for the, 35th, 45th, 55th time. I've lost count time this season about how Jalen Brunson is as important to his basketball team as any other player in the sport, with the possible exception of the guy who's about to win his 3rd MVP in 4 years. And does that mean I think Jalen Brunson should finish second in MVP voting? No, I don't. Let me be very clear. I have no problem with the guys who are going to finish in the top 4 finishing the top 4. Well, Nikola Jokic, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Luka Doncic, and yes, Giannis Antetokounmpo. I know he leaves a little bit to be desired, as we saw in the second half tonight. those four guys, what they are doing and what they're able to do consistently, like they deserve to finish in the top four. That's fine. But what I would like it pointed out for the record, Nikola Jokic gets to play with, I know he's never made an all-star, but he's an all-star player in Jamal Murray. And Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is on one of the most complete teams, if not the most complete team in the entire sport outside of Boston. Maybe the most complete team in the West in Oklahoma City. And all you have to do is look at what they do sometimes recently when he hasn't been in there and they're still able to come up with big wins. Luka Doncic gets to play with a guy who, what did Kyrie finish tonight with? 48 points, 46 points, scored 24 or 25 or something between the fourth quarter and overtime. Luka Doncic gets to play with that guy. And then who am I forgetting? Oh, Giannis. Giannis team's traded for a top, emptied the whole kit and caboodle for a top 75 player, still barely hanging on to his prime, but he's right there in Dame Lillard. Jalen Brunson got to play, I guess almost half the year with Julius Randle. He got to play, a couple games in October, November, December, and then January. So, yeah, I guess about half the year, a little bit more than half the year. Since then, when he's been I keep saying it because I feel like people need to understand this, what this guy's doing and how much is being asked of him with the number one usage rate in the fucking National Basketball Association. Continues to be efficient enough and most importantly, lead them to wins. 43 tonight. 43. And you know what? And can I be honest with y'all for a second? When am I not honest with everybody here? I know what did he have at the half? He had 27 points at the half. And I was asking myself, I'm like, I wonder if they're playing a little bit into the Bucks' hands because Jalen Brunson was doing so much heavy lifting. And I'm not saying like any of the shots he was taking were bad shots. They weren't bad shots because if you're going to cover him one-on-one with mediocre defenders or bad defenders, and you're going to give him shots in the mid-range that he could eat up, like a slice of chocolate cake with a nice cold glass of milk, well, he's going to take those shots, but it still resulted in him taking 18 shots, 23 points on 18 shots. That's not what Jalen Brunson wants to be, nor does he want to be a guy that dishes only one assist. Well, you look up at the end of the game, Jalen Brunson finishes with 43 points on 32 shots and 8 assists, 7 assists in the second half because he found a way, despite how Milwaukee was covering him, to continue to get the other players on the team involved. And that is a mark of a champion. It is the mark of an MVP caliber player. In a different year, I could see Jalen Brunson, the year he's having, finishing second or third without question. That he's going to finish fifth or maybe sixth. That's absolutely no slight on him. He's doing it by himself. When you talk about shot creation, specifically shot creation, and I want to be specific about that because in no way, shape, or form do I want to imply that this is a one-man team because it is not. And that's the other direction that I could go right now, and that I want to go because every night this season where they get a big win, it seems like there are so many heroes, especially in the last 2 months and change, going on almost 2.5 months, where guys come up and have so consistently outplayed the proverbial back of their basketball court, but at the very least outplayed the perceptions of them, that I think there have been enough of those sorts of games and outings where those perceptions have to start to change. And I'm not sure that the perception of any single player on this roster, outside of Brunson, obviously, has changed more than that of Isaiah Hartenstein. And look, I could go a few different directions here because there's the other guy that would probably have an argument for that is the dude who hit 8 3-pointers in 11 attempts. Hello, Dante DiVincenzo. I gotta go Isaiah Hartenstein first. Why? Because that play that he made in the fourth quarter, where this was absolutely still a game, the score was 106-98. Just a couple of moments earlier, the Bucks had hit 2 back-to-back threes. Big threes. Second of which was by Bobby Portis. Actually, sorry. One was the Dame 3 free throws. And then there was the big three by Bobby Portis. Cut that lead to 6. And then you had a bunch of scuffling back and forth with OG missed a couple, and then he stole the ball. Then JB was blocked from behind. And then Portis had an in and out 3. Oh boy, am I happy that 3 didn't go in. And then yeah, shortly after that was that iHeart play where he's I mean, how many times are you going to see a guy that size? A guy that's free, a guy that size, period, doing that, diving on the floor for a loose ball like that, let alone a guy who is entering a contract year. And I don't want to sit here on a night when there were so many heroes on the court and wax poetic about the coach, but go read if you haven't had a chance already. And I know Fred has a story coming out about this too, but Michael Scotto of Hoops Hype does a great job for Hoops Hype, covering the entire league. Had a great story on Isaiah Hartenstein at the end of this week, in which he got some really wonderful quotes, including some quotes about his coach and how much Tom Thibodeau has meant to Isaiah Hartenstein and how much he feels the coach has been instrumental in his improvement. Like, you want to tell me that these guys aren't fully bought in that a guy who is entering an unrestricted free agency period where he stands to make generational, life-altering wealth is diving on the floor for a loose ball at the end of a regular season game where, like, I mean, if we're being honest with ourselves, did the result of this game really matter to the Knicks? No. And you know why? Because if they lost this game, I was going to come on here and I was going to be like, don't worry, the sky is not falling. The Heat lost today. The magic number to avoid the play-in is still 2 games. But that's not how this team thinks. It's not how this team processes things. You heard the quote or saw the quote, I think, earlier today from Jalen Brunson when asked, does he watch the standings? Tom Thibodeau's my head coach. What do you think I do? I mean, they're just out there trying to win every single game that they play, thinking about it like it's the end of the world. That's how they approach things. That's how you come back from 11 down at the half against a team that is supposedly a true blue championship contender. But I got to tell you, from what I saw tonight, I'd like to see how that series would play out. I'm not saying I think the Knicks would win necessarily. Bucks are the more talented team, especially when Chris Middleton is in the game. And no, it is not lost on me for 1 second that Chris Middleton left this game shortly before halftime and did not return. Massive impact in the game. Do they win this game if Middleton plays? We'll see. It's a tough call because, again, the Bucks had spotted them, or they had spotted the Bucks an 11-point lead. The Knicks were a different team in the second half, so maybe they still win the game even if Middleton plays. But that's neither here nor there right now, because you know what? Guess who else ain't all the way healthy? Is these Knicks missing their all-star, their all-NBA level player, and Chris Middleton is not that anymore, to be very clear. So, yeah, this team, man. This fucking team. I mentioned DiVincenzo. I mean, 8 of 11 from 3. I'll check it later. Maybe I forget how many threes Luka had today. Or I actually didn't check how many threes Luka had today. DiVincenzo gunning for that number 2 spot behind Steph Curry for most total threes made in the NBA this season. And to do it, returning to the team that drafted him. And it's like, I imagine being a Bucks. Look, the Bucks their fans got to see a championship a few years ago. So winning a championship means never having to feel bad about anything and never having to say you're sorry. I've never gotten to see one in my life, and I'd love to know what it feels like. So I'm not about to disparage that title or take anything away from Bucks fans, but like, it must be frustrating. It must be frustrating because as it was, you had to deal with, you drafted Malcolm Brogdon in the second round, and then you lost him to, Indiana, which, that didn't work out exactly as Indiana would have liked it. But like, that dude was a huge part of your team, and you lost him because you didn't want to pay him. And like DiVincenzo now, he has to go in that category because what this guy's doing and how much he just fundamentally changes New York's offense and how he has fundamentally changed New York's offense since entering into the starting lineup, and especially since they lost Julius Randle and OG Anunoby initially. It's just a game changer. So between DiVincenzo and Hartenstein, again, two guys who it's no longer a coincidence. It's no longer these guys are playing above their heads. This is who they are. This is what they are capable of doing. And for the Knicks, that is a godsend because no player in the NBA, no player in the NBA can win games by himself. And Jalen Brunson certainly can't. And he needed both of them tonight. And more than that, he needed everyone. I shouted out Bogey before. You want to talk about some big points? You want to talk about progress? Go look at what Bojan Bogdanovic has now been doing over the last handful of games or so. The shot is coming around. I know he was atrocious, and I killed him for it. I killed him for it after the Bulls game because if he's mediocre in the Bulls game, that result might be different. He made up for it and then some tonight. Those were big shots. Those were big shots he hit in the first half when Jalen Brunson went out. He was 3 for 3 in his minutes to start out in the first half, and that was when the Bucks were rolling. So if Bojan Bogdanovic doesn't go, and then he had 2 free throws. He had essentially 8. I don't know if it was 8 straight, but he had 8 points in the early going in the second quarter without Brunson on the floor. If he doesn't do that, and again, that Bucks team, like they were, this game was on the verge of getting out of hand, if we're being honest with ourselves a few times there. You do not want, I know they have a lot of flaws. You do not want to get down by 16, 17, 18 points to this Bucks team. Because the uphill becomes too steep. So that was big. And then his shots in the fourth quarter, I mean, absolutely massive. Deuce with pride, only 18 minutes tonight. Again, just massive contributions. 2 out of 4 from deep. His 3 to start the scoring. You want to talk about a tone setter? Okay, the Knicks are up by 4 at the start of the fourth quarter. Can they hang on? Like, Alan Hahn was being very kind, and I think if you gave him truth serum, because he said in the start of the fourth quarter, and you could tell he kind of like caught. He was like wasn't sure about if he wanted to actually say what he was going to say. He ended up saying, the Knicks just like they need to at least hold this 4-point lead. In the back of my mind, I'm thinking you don't think that holding it would be sufficient. You're thinking to yourself, man, if they're not down by 4 when Brunson comes back in, then we'll sign for that. And so Deuce hitting that 3 right at the top to start the scoring. And to put them up, I think after the Bucks had maybe scored initially. No, it wasn't after. Yeah, it was after the Bucks scored initially, and then he had a beautiful drive a little bit later, and then a steal. Like big time impact. That's a big time impact from Deuce McBride in only 18 minutes. Speaking of guys who made a big impact and not a lot of time, look, he's not all the way back yet. Benji pointed it out on Twitter. These rebounds that he used to gobble up, he's getting his hands on them. The jumps are there. The timing on the jumps are there. It's the touch maybe is not all the way there for Mitchell Robinson. But this was the biggest step forward. And when he was swatting shots left and right, he finished tonight with 3 blocks, including 2 blocks. I think they were on the same possession essentially because I think one went out of bounds and then the Bucks kept the ball and he blocked another one. And the block through, how nice was that to see? The blocked 3. Blocking Dame Lillard from downtown. You want to talk about a sight for sore eyes? Mitchell Robinson gave it to you there. Precious, interesting enough, did not play in the second half, which I'm not sure I mind too much. I know he was a +5, but didn't necessarily love his time in the first half. And then who am I forgetting? I'll go Hart, and then I'll save my most interesting one for last. Josh Hart, I wrote it down in the first half. Something was wrong with him. I don't know what it was. I don't know if it's still is something wrong with him. He hit the 3, which was a great sign. But something he just was like, because he was not only was he avoiding shots, and then he started to take a few shots, and it was the shots that he's usually comfortable with, those little fallaways in the paint, and those didn't even look close. Well, talk about a guy who redeemed himself, and wouldn't you know it, towards the end of the third quarter, the Knicks started playing a little point Hart, with essentially giving Josh Hart the ball at the top of the key and letting him drive the lane and make stuff happen. Once he found DiVincenzo for a three, and then I think the next one he finished himself, and then came his three. Those were big, big minutes for Josh Hart. And then to save this for last. So OG Anunoby, 2 for 10 from the field, right? 0 for 5 from 3 with a couple of misses there. Like I mentioned, he had 2 misses in a row in the middle of the fourth quarter right after the Bucks had cut it to 6. You would not think that a player who goes 2 of 10 from the field and doesn't hit a shot from downtown could have a significantly positive impact. Well, what he did defensively in the second half of this game, he was good in the first half. He was elite in the second half. And just having him out there, I'm very proud of myself that I found this very stupid statistic, but it's a statistic I found, so I'm going to shout out myself. OG Anunoby, let me double check the newsletter here that I just wrote, so I make sure I don't screw it up. OG Anunoby, yes, yesterday or 2 days ago, against the Bulls in the loss, finished with a plus in the plus-minus column, as Clyde would say. That gave him 20 games in a row, going back to when he was still with Toronto, where he was a plus in the plus-minus column. Well, tonight was the 21st straight game with OG Anunoby being a plus in the plus-minus column. That ties him with Chris Bosh, Miami-era Chris Bosh, during the 2012-13 season, for the 7th longest streak of consecutive games being a plus in the plus-minus column in the last 25 years. Here are the names he trails. The aforementioned, actually, Malcolm Brogdon, who did it 29 straight times with the Bucks in 2018-19 season. Ray Allen of the Celtics, Steph Curry, Kevin Garnett, Klay Thompson, and Rafer Alston, of all guys, on that crazy Houston team that won like a million games in a row. So OG Anunoby and Chris Bosh, and he joins that group, breaking a tie with LeBron James, who is now in 9th place. He had 20 straight games with a plus on the plus-minus column. The point is, OG Anunoby helps you win basketball games, and whether he's hitting shots or he's not hitting shots, it's a big deal that he's out there. And as long as he's there, as long as he's healthy, as long as he's good to go, this team, man, again, should have killed us when you had the chance. Should have killed us when you had the chance. I want to see what they could do. All right, let's keep it moving. This is going to be a fun one. Unified Healing, Road to Recovery. Thank you so much to our sponsor, Unified Healing. And learn more about Unified Healing by going to unifiedhealing.com. And you could find a center, a Unified Healing Center near you. Again, that is unified with a Y, UNIFYD healing.com. Read the small print at the bottom of your screen if you're interested. But go to unifiedhealing.com. Okay. So the road to recovery, a positive. We traveled down the road a goodly distance today. No negatives. Bojan Bogdanovic was a game time decision. He played and had a big impact. And nobody else appeared even on the injury report. So Mitchell Robinson, ostensibly fully back. OG Anunoby, ostensibly fully back. Josh Hart didn't pop up on the injury report. I don't know that I believe that his wrist isn't bothering him at all anymore, but I'm not surprised that he didn't show up on the injury report. So it's just, it's Julius, and as we continue to do, and look, I'm waxing poetic about them. I'll continue to wax poetic all night. You saw it in the first half when it was like, man, this team is struggling to find coherent offense. They're asking Jalen Brunson to do an awful lot. You miss Julius. And they still miss Julius. And we wish him a speedy recovery. Okay. That has been the Unified Healing Road to Recovery. Again, visit unifiedhealing.com for more information. And now we are going to do something that I am going to have some fun with. Hold on. I'm going to get my computer screens here. You know what I need? I need like a second screen. So I can minimize. I don't have to minimize and maximize and all this cockamamie stuff. Okay, so today, and there's a game that is still going on. I promise I wasn't trying to filibuster on purpose, but there is a game going on right now between the Spurs and the Sixers that is in double overtime. The Sixers are currently winning 128 to 126. I was trying to keep tabs on the game, and I kept tabs until very late. It seemed like the Spurs had enough to put this one away. This is a massive game, because if Philly could somehow find a way to win this here again in double overtime, I don't even want to know what Wemby's stat line is. They will stay alive, just barely, in the race for the 6th seed, which is very important potentially to the Knicks, because guess what the Knicks are still alive now for in a real way after this win? They are alive for the 3rd seed. So here we go. Out of town scores. Wild day in the NBA. My goodness, what a wild day in the NBA. I'm going to start with the relevant ones first. So the most relevant game, one of the most relevant games left for the Eastern Conference playoff picture, the Heat and the Pacers. The Pacers were up. I'll check right now. I don't know if they ever actually went up by 20. It seemed like they were right there on the verge of a 20-point lead at some point in this game. I'm double checking it right now. Yeah, they went up by 22 in this game. I don't believe the Heat ever took the lead late, but they came back in a significant way. Sorry, I think I froze there for a second. But they came back in a significant way, made it a game, but the Pacers pulled it out. We'll get back to that one in a minute. The Cleveland Cavaliers. Not feeling great right now. Had a 26-point lead in Los Angeles against the Clippers. Second day of a back-to-back as they had played the Lakers yesterday. Lost the Lakers, now they lost the other LA team because Paul George put the Clippers on his back in the 4th quarter, went into boss mode, and then spurred by massive late threes from Terrence Mann and Amir Coffey. I think the announcers had something like a caffeine shot from Amir Coffey. It was a good call. Pulled out that win. The Cavs are dropping like flies, or dropping like a stone, falling like a stone. I don't know what analogy I was going for there. We'll get back to them in a bit. The Magic, however, did win. The Bulls kind of were sort of hanging around, but ultimately that was a not easy win for the Magic, but they won comfortably, 113 to 98. I'm going to go, and of course the Knicks beat the Bucks. So, as I'm still trying to keep tabs on this freaking Sixers game, here's where we stand. I'll get back to the Sixers later after this game's over. Here's where we stand right now. The Bucks are still in second. They are 15 games back, which is crazy. It looks like they did clinch a playoff spot, though, today. Is that what that stands? Yeah, clinched a playoff spot. I don't know what happened that they clinched a playoff spot. I didn't. Maybe they clinched a playoff spot yesterday. I just didn't notice. One game back of the Bucks. The Magic and the Knicks, who are tied at 46 and 32. Here's what is utterly fascinating about that scenario. The Bucks and the Magic play twice in their last 4 games. So the Magic finished the season at Houston, and then they are at Milwaukee. Then they are at Philly. You want to talk about a big game. And then finish the season at home against Milwaukee. The Bucks, their other games that are not involving the Orlando Magic are against the Celtics. That's a TNT game on the 9th, which is Tuesday. I don't know. I have no idea who the Celtics are going to play in that game. I don't know who Milwaukee's going to play in that game. And then they head to OKC to face the Thunder in between their 2 games against the Magic. We'll see if SGA plays. We'll see how hard the Thunder charge to try to get a good record down the stretch there. So that's what's going on with the 2-3. The Knicks don't have the tiebreaker against either of those teams. So and given the fact that they play them twice, I'm like, I don't think there's any real possibility for the 2 seed. I do think there's a possibility for the 3 seed still at this point, for sure, especially given that we're tied with Orlando. I guess that would mean rooting for Milwaukee in those games. If anybody here really wants the 3 seed, although at this point, you could make an argument that having home court in the 4-5 might be better because of how Cleveland is playing. Cleveland is now a half a game back of the Knicks. The Knicks do own that tiebreaker. Cleveland only has 3 games remaining this season, including one tough game left when they play the Pacers on the final Friday night of the regular season. And then there's Indiana in 6th place. Indiana, again, won today. So they are now a game and a half back of the Knicks, and the Heat lost today. So where does that leave us? The Knicks' magic number to clinch a playoff spot, translation, not fall into the play-in, is 1 game. If they win or Miami loses at any point in time over the next week, the Knicks are going to go to the playoffs. I believe the magic number to finish ahead of the Pacers, I think, is 3. Yeah, it's 3. Because the Pacers have the tiebreaker and they have 45 wins and they have 3 games left. So, for argument's sake, if the Pacers won all 3 of those games, which they're capable of winning all 3 of those games, I think 2 of them are. I'll just go through the Pacers schedule right now since I've gone through everybody else's schedule. Pacers have remaining at the Raptors, at the Cavs, and then home against the Hawks on their last game of the season. So Pacers going 3-0 is definitely in the cards. If they did go 3-0, the Knicks would need to go 3-1 in their final 4 games to finish ahead of Indiana. And then, of course, there's Cleveland, which, again, this is all very jumbled up. We could be in a situation where we could be, depending on who you want to play, Cleveland or Indiana in the first round. Some Knicks fans might be sitting there rooting hard for the Cavs in that next game of the season against Indiana. We'll see what happens. And now, okay, I think finally I could call it. The Sixers are going to win this game against the San Antonio Spurs. Hopefully not famous last words. Well, I shouldn't call it yet. Spurs have 1 more possession. Whatever. Let's get back to that when it's over. I want to get started on these super chats. I've been talking for long enough. Can't wait to celebrate tonight. This is going to be fun. We start with Luke Shamoon. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Eastern Conference Finals is not back on. It was never fucking off. I like it. And just so I could close up shop on the standings thing, Sixers won. So Sixers are now in 7th place, moving the Miami Heat down to 8th place. So that is interesting. That is interesting. Okay, thanks, Luke. I'm here for it. Austin Z, what's going on, Austin? OG's defense on Giannis was phenomenal. I don't think we win without him out there. Some of the best one-on-one defense I've seen on 34. And it was particularly exciting because I thought Giannis, I don't think, had his way with OG in the first half. That's not accurate. He got OG a few times. But again, you are talking about a guy who is about to finish, in all likelihood, 4th in MVP, which would give him, I should know this by heart. I apologize that I don't. I think that would be 4 top 4 finishes, maybe 5. It's 4 or 5 top 4 finishes for MVP, I think. Somebody double check me on that. This guy's going to retire as one of the, at worst, 20. I feel even bad saying top 25. I kind of feel like it's like top 20. He might be top 20. He might be top 25 right now. Like, this is one of the greatest players of all time, and he's in the midst of his prime. And like, for me to sit here and be like, well, he got OG a few times. Well, I should hope so that he got OG a few times. But that's all it was. And then the beautiful thing about it is, yeah, you have OG Anunoby doing that on Giannis. But hey, if Giannis is out of the game and OG's in the game and you need OG to go over and slide over and guard Damian Lillard at the top of the key for a possession or two and do that, he could do that too. And he did that a few times tonight. I know. I get it. We've said it before. How many guys in the league can truly guard X and Y at the same time? Well, he can actually do it. And it's high level defense on both guys. It's worth its weight in gold. Thank you, Austin. Drew P. What's going on, Drew? Genuine question. How good is Brunson? Top 15 question mark, 10 question mark. So I was thinking about this the other day. I don't want to spend too long on this, but I was thinking about this the other day because the Hoop Collective guys, who you guys know, I'm a big fan of the Hoop Collective podcast. And I respect their opinions to no end because they don't say shit without thinking about it first. You may not agree with them, but they think through everything and they are informed. So Tim Bontemps, who I've been on the putback with, I loved him. It was like, I'm probably going to have Jalen Brunson 5th in my MVP voting. But in the same conversation, he was like, I don't think he's a top 10 player. And a Knicks fan might hear that and be like, oh my God, that's so disrespectful. And like, I don't think it's disrespectful. I don't think it's disrespectful because there are enough all-time great players in the league right now who are either in or close enough to their prime where if you're going to say Jalen Brunson is a top 10 player in the league right now, you have to pick somebody really good and say that they're not in the top 10. So again, I'm just going to go through a list and then I'm going to come back around to this because spoiler alert, my answer is yes, he is a top 10 player. But I'm going to do the exercise. Okay. I'm just going through the standings. So this is not in order. I'm going to put Tatum aside. Giannis, Embiid, Jokic, we're at 3. SGA, guy's going to fish second MVP. Kawhi, again, we'll get back to it. Luka, that's 6. Durant is 7. LeBron James is 8. Steph Curry is 9. And I would think most people would have Anthony Davis in there in number 10. And there are obviously names that I haven't said. I haven't said Devin Booker's name. I didn't say Jason Tatum's name. There's maybe one or two other guys you could, probably. So here's what I'm going to say. At the very least, he's top 15, and there was no question about that. I think he's top 10, and here's why. Because whether the conversation can only go one of two ways. It's who do you want if you have one big game to win, and encompassed in that is who do you want with the ball in their hands in the fourth quarter if the game's on the line. And then there's the bigger picture part of it. Is like, who do you want leading your franchise? Who do you want in your locker room? Who do you want as the guy who everybody else has to fall in line behind that dude? And then there's all the in-between gray area. Like, does he play? Like, does he get injured a lot? Like, is there drama surrounding your franchise when, in some way, shape, or form because of this person? Or does he extricate himself from the drama? Like, all of that other shit. And I don't know where I'd have Jalen in my top 10, but you're not going to tell me that there's 10 guys that fit those specific qualifications ahead of Jalen Brunson. You're just not going to do it because there aren't. Like, okay, here, I'll say it right now. If you're asking me, who do I want on my franchise today? Who do I want on the floor for a win-or-go-home playoff game, Jalen Brunson or Jason Tatum? I'm taking Jalen Brunson. If you're asking me the same question about Kevin Durant, now that's sacrilege. Kevin Durant might be the most gifted offensive player in the history of the league. I got to tell you, I want my guy. I want my guy because I know what I'm getting for 48 minutes, and I know the galvanizing effect that he has as opposed to Phoenix. Guess who lost another game today that they had to win against the New Orleans Pelicans? Phoenix Suns. Just added up to their losses this season. How many fall from ahead losses have they had? Now, Kevin Durant's numbers are better than Jalen Brunson's numbers if you look at the efficiency. But I got to tell you, one guy is the head of the snake and directs the offense, And the other guy, that's not really his role anymore. He's the omega. He's not the alpha. So, yeah, give me Jalen Brunson over him. I think you can make an argument that Jalen Brunson should be taken. Again, it's going to sound crazy. Am I sure that Anthony Davis is a quote-unquote better player than Jalen Brunson? Anthony Davis might be the best defender in the sport right now. Might be. His ceiling is best defensive player in the sport. And the dude could drop 30 like it's nothing when he's feeling it. When he's feeling it. Doesn't always bring it. That's no knock on him. Still arguably a top 10 player. Definitely a top 15 player in the league right now. He's going to finish second team all NBA at worst. And I think a lot of people will vote him first team. I got to tell you, if I could only have one of those players on my team for one game that I need to win, or if I'm just starting my franchise today and I need them for a full season, I'm going to take Brunson. Now, fans of these other teams would hear me say these things, and they're going to be like, yeah, that guy's a homer. He doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. National media people would probably hear me say these things and be like, yeah, he's a homer. He doesn't know what he's talking about. We watch him every day. We know the impact that he has. So I'm going to make the argument. That he's a top 10 player in the league. It's a tough argument to make, but I think it's a valid one. So Jalen Brunson, get all the flowers as far as I'm concerned. It's that type of night. Thanks, Drew. Mark Fabros, what's going on, Mark? I had to change my underwear after that iHeart dive save that led to a fast break. I think it's the play of the season. I really do. I think it's the play of the season, and it's the play of the season because it defines their team. Defines what they're made of. So if you want to sum up the Knicks, the 2023-24 Knicks in one 10-second clip, I don't think you're going to find a better one than that. Thank you, Mark. Anthony Sixto, what's going on? Anthony took iHeart months to find it when he signed, and that's because he was hurt. We found that out later. He never used it as an excuse, never sat down. Speaks to his character. Boyan started to find it. Game changer if he keeps this up come playoffs. Hashtag Boyo with the fofo. Wow. That is Boyo with the fofo. I don't know what to say to that hashtag. What I will say, I do think Boyo is he the wild card on this team? I think Josh Hart is the wild card for this team in the playoffs, because if Josh Hart is feeling it on the offensive end, and I'm going to read a quote in a second, it's courtesy of Fred Katz. If Josh Hart is feeling it, I'm not even saying making shots. It just, if he's like feeling frisky and like feeling good enough about putting up the mid-ranger and making them and making passes and really attacking in transition, which, by the way, I thought the Bucks for the most part did a really good job in preventing the Knicks from getting a lot of stuff in transition tonight. I think he's probably the number one wild card. Boyan, I think, is a close second for this team moving forward, because not only can he prop up the bench units, but I thought, so Bogey came out, I believe it was 106.98 when Bogdanović came out in the fourth quarter. Brunson came in when it was 99.89. So those guys played together for a solid few minutes. I think the Knicks' I don't even think this is a hot take. The Knicks' most unguardable offensive lineup is one that contains both Jalen Brunson and Bojan Bogdanović. Obviously, DiVincenzo is going to be out there too. OG Anunoby is the skeleton key, and of course, he was out there during those minutes. And Isaiah Hartenstein. That might be, because you're thinking it's either Bojan or Hart. Is what Hart gives you in all the facets of the game, and obviously defense is a big part of that, is what he gives you more important than what Bojan could give you that's purely on the offensive side of the ball and as a floor spacer. I think I'd go Hart because it's just so much that he does. But in games where like maybe Hart's not really feeling it and like Bojan is really hot, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw that lineup in key fourth quarter situations like we saw tonight. By the way, the Josh Hart quote. Josh is per Fred Katz. Josh Hart said when he took the half court heave to end the second quarter, he felt his wrist click and it almost clicked back into place. You got to be fucking kidding me. Said he went to Brunson at the half and told him, I could shoot threes now. This is basically the plot from Rookie of the Year. Fred, that's the quote of the year. That's a great job. Thanks, Anthony. Appreciate you, man. Kevin Danishevsky, what's going on, Kev? Provided everyone other than Randall is remotely healthy, this is the second best team in the East. Out of superlatives for Jalen, OG's defense on Giannis, incredible. Man, if I took off my Knicks hat and I was trying to handicap the East right now, who would I say is the second best threat? Second biggest threat? I mean, it's going to sound insane. I still think Milwaukee deserves. If Middleton is healthy, if Middleton is fully healthy, which, like, has he been fully healthy all year? They absolutely deserve to be a part of that conversation. And by the way, second best team in the East doesn't necessarily translate to second biggest threat to Boston because I think that's a matchup thing. But Milwaukee deserves to be part of the conversation. And the other team besides the Knicks is Philly with the big guy. And if they get, I think it's Melton back. But I don't know if he's coming back. So that's the other team because that's that dude was on track to win an MVP award. So I think the Knicks are right there in that group. But like at the same time, like you watch the Pacers, man, that team, they're not perfect and they let teams back in games and they lose games they're supposed to win occasionally. They're not a perfect team. That team's they're a pain in the ass to play because of just that offense. And they just keep coming at you. And then Miami, is Miami. I don't need to speak about them. And then like the two teams that are going to be kind of Orlando's making it so that I don't think anyone's going to make them an afterthought. They're just a pain in the ass in a different way than Indiana. You want to talk about two teams that are a pain in the ass to play in two completely different ways? Indiana and Orlando. Like this is, I know it's not the West. I know the win totals in the playoff, in like 1 through 10 in the West, you're going to be a lot better than the win totals in the East 1 through 10. There's a lot of really good teams in the East this year. It's a tough conference. Thanks, Kev. Rob DeLucin, what's going on, Rob? Hello, beautiful KFS fam. Let's recap. The Knicks will beat your ass. Much love to you guys. Damn it. LOL. I love it. I love it so much. Makes me so happy. I love the celebration that's happening right now. This feels like a worthwhile night to celebrate. And they will beat your ass. Boy, will they ever beat your ass. Don't mess with this team. Don't mess with them. Thanks, Rob. Ray Marcano in the post game. Doubt kills dreams more than failure ever will. Never doubt the Knicks. Yeah, they don't. Well, but it's not about us doubting them, right? Ray, you know this as well as anyone. It's about that they don't doubt themselves. And they have a self-belief that I think is on par. In that, you know what? In that category, I'll put them number 1 ahead of Boston. Because I think if there was one knock on Boston, and Boston is shaping up to be quite literally one of the all-time great teams. We'll see if they could take care of business in the playoffs. I don't know if they can. But you see in certain fourth quarters, there is a doubt that creeps in. This Knicks team is their confidence in themselves, and it's not only their confidence in themselves, because that makes it sound like almost arrogant. It's their confidence in their approach. And I do think that trickles down from the head coach, because they know, and again, guys, Hartenstein, again, shouting out Michael Scotto's piece on Hoopsite, like he has talked about this. Other guys have talked about this year. They feel that they are the best prepared team in any game that they play. So when you feel that your preparation puts you ahead of everybody else, and all you need to do is go execute the preparation, and if you execute on the preparation, you will be successful. Well, it's really easy to go out there and play with confidence, and I think they do that. And you see that time and time and time again. That's why they never are out of games. Thanks, Ray. Brad Schnedeker, what's going on, Brad? Not sure anybody's ready for the Brunson conversation. Certainly not the national media, but am I? Are you? My God, MVP. That's why. Who's more important to their team? The fact that we could sit here and there's one guy who you could say is like Jokic it redefines what it is to be important to one's team. There are statistics that quite literally paint him as like the more important to these Denver Nuggets over the last few years than any player has ever been as important to any team in the history of the league. So that's Jokic. That's a guy that we're witnessing, a top. I'm pretty high on Jokic, a top 10 all-time player, maybe when all said and done, just in the middle of his prime. So to say that like Brunson falls behind him in the like most important to their team conversation, but he's right up there with anyone else. He's right up there with anybody else. For man, Mark Cuban. Well, we didn't know what to offer him, so we couldn't make him an offer because they didn't know what to offer him. I don't know. Maybe offer him the max. That's an idea. You had him on your fucking team for 4 years. Maybe offer him the max. Maybe should have known what you had. Man. I shouldn't make fun of the Mavs today. A great win. And Kyrie, the guy they got to replace Brunson, was awesome. So shout out to them. Thanks, Brad. Keith, what's going on, Keith? Huge team win. Brunson is top 10, but everybody was amazing today. Deuce, Bogey, and Mitch had vital stretches, especially while JB sat. Let's fucking go Knicks, and shouts to KFS. Yeah, you summed it up pretty well there, Keith. Deuce, Bogey, and Mitch, I'm going to have a hell of a time. I know I say this occasionally, but I really mean it today. I'm going to have a hell of a time picking stars of the game. I mean, Brunson's getting number one. Isaiah Hartenstein had 18 points and 10 rebounds and was 8 of 9 from the field. That is outstanding. DiVincenzo was 8 of 11 from deep. So is Anunoby, is he not going to get a star of the game? He's probably gotten more shout outs than anyone on this postgame. Boyan? Is Boyan not going to get a star of the game? Deuce? Mitch? Deuce and Mitch, I could say right now, I'm going to have a tough time putting them in there. But, man, picking 2 of those for 4, Boyan, DiVincenzo, Hartenstein, and Anunoby, even with the 2 for 10, that's not going to be fun. I don't know who the hell I'm going to. I don't know. 8 of 11 from 3 is insane. Thanks, Keith. Spicy Sham. What's going on, Spicy Sham? Bogey, this is what we need. Also, pulling starters down 10 with a minute left to play. Our coach would never. Alan Hahn was as flabbergasted as any announcer I've ever heard in game. Like in the minute, like as it was happening, I don't think I've ever heard another announcer be that like flummoxed at what he was seeing. Like the team had made consecutive threes. There was over a minute to go. I don't know, man. Doc, and they gave him a multi-year contract. Like, I think Doc's a good coach. I think, if I'm being honest, I don't think this is a Doc problem. I think there's something fundamentally wrong with this Bucks team. I don't think, for as well as the Dame Giannis pick and roll combo, or just forget pick and roll combo, for as well as those two players should be able to play together, I don't think that they have ever gelled to the point that you need 2-star players to gel to win a championship. And I think you may be able to trace it back to the fact that Dame never wanted to be here to begin with. He was very clear about that, where he wanted to go. He didn't go there. And I think even you see it, sometimes in games where like Giannis sits. I know he hasn't sat a bunch this year, but in games where Giannis sits, it's like all of a sudden the old Dame woke up. And I really do think that there is a push and pull of whose team this is. I know this was what your super chat was about, but I'm just riffing because I thought about it a few times tonight. There were some really questionable decisions made on both sides where it's like early it's definitely in the second half where Giannis had the ball with DiVincenzo on him. No, it wasn't DiVincenzo on him. It was OG on him. And he was like he was trying to back him down, and OG got the steal, and it turned into a fast break, and DiVincenzo like came away with it. But like, I think Brunson was crossed. Was it Brunson or McBride? Like Lopez had a small on him, and the one that I forget who it was, but I know for a fact that Dame had Isaiah Hartenstein on him. And instead of exploit that matchup, Giannis tried to go one-on-one with OG. And then later in the fourth, and this is the one Breen called out on the broadcast, that was when Giannis had DiVincenzo on him, and they didn't get him the ball in the post. And instead, I think it was Dame putting up a crazy shot. Like, something's not right with that team and those guys. And I think we should all keep an eye on what happens in Milwaukee this summer. I'll just leave it at that. Thank you, Spicy Sham. Anthony Sixto, what's going on, Anthony? Again, thank you for yet another generous contribution. Fourth quarter, DiVincenzo stuck on Giannis. Oh, here we go. Perfect. The play I'm talking about. Denied the entry and got the board with him on his back. Massive play that stats don't show. What does he even do out there? That was the comment of the year. It's I don't like, at least we still have our pick. Or what does he even do out there? Man. It's like 1A and 1B. I don't know, man. But yeah, that was great. I mean, DiVincenzo fought. Like, look, but I think a better team or a more together team, like they make sure Giannis touched the ball in that scenario. So, but here's the thing. If DiVincenzo doesn't fight like hell, it doesn't make them think twice. He made them think twice, and then they just didn't get to him. And yeah, and I forgot completely about the fact that he got the board with Giannis on his back. DiVincenzo's, man, not even signed for the full mid-level. I challenge you. I challenge anyone watching. Find me a better contract, sub full mid-level contract, non-rookie contract that's a better value in the NBA. You're not going to find one. And if you do find one, it's probably going to be the other guy on this team, Deuce McBride. But no, I think it's DiVincenzo. Honestly, putting aside rookie contracts, because rookie contracts bring in, like, the fact that Wembanyama's making however much money he's making this year. Putting aside rookie contracts, you might be able to look at like anybody making like under $25 million. Like White is in that category. Dirk White's in that category. OG's in that category, actually. Few other guys who deserve to have their name mentioned in that category, under 25. Brunson's over 25. But I think DiVincenzo would make that top 5 at the very least in terms of value contracts. Thanks, Anthony. Rich McLeod, what's going on, Rich? New win of the year just dropped. Oh, God. It's beauty's in the eye of the beholder. Because it didn't come down to the last possession. They won kind of going away at the end of the day. But is there another win? Is there another win this year that better shows this team, the character of the whole team? Really, than this? To do it in Milwaukee, right? To do it in Milwaukee. Down 11 at the half. And it's the thing, it wasn't just Brunson. You had the Brunson part. You had the Brunson piece, but you had so much more. Yeah, it might be. Probably is. Thanks, Rich. Dom the Dentist. Not going to lie, I was ready to shit on OG's defense in the first half, but he shut me the fuck up in the second. Yeah, again, it's we are so not used to seeing him ever get beat at all. It's even more than that. We're so used to seeing him be the aggressor on defense to the point that when he is on someone, again, the comparison is Deion Sanders back in the day where it's like, oh, okay, we're just going to take away that whole side of the field and you're just not going to throw there. To the point where when they did face the Niners, when Deion was on the Cowboys, I'll always think of Deion as a Cowboy. But when Deion did face, or whoever he was before that, Falcons or whatever it was, the point is when Deion faced Jerry Rice and they actually threw over there, it's like, oh, Deion's getting beat. I mean, it's the greatest receiver of all time. Look, Giannis Antetokounmpo is not the greatest NBA basketball player of all time, but he is, in terms of a physical specimen, who you're just not going to stop if he puts his head downhill and you're going to try to guard him one-on-one. There's no one that can stop him. He is as formidable a freight train with the ball in his hands as there has ever been in the league. And I don't think that's overstating it in terms of specifically that quality being, if he is 18, 15, whatever feet away from the basket, and he is just going to bum rush you and be able to get a good shot at the rim. I don't know how many guys in the history league there are that are better at that specific thing. And yeah, OG got a few times, but that's not to say he had a bad half. It was Giannis got his and it's fine. Thanks, Tom. Alex, what's going on, buddy? This team just competes out there every night. JB is just sensational. He has earned very serious MVP consideration, but I'm sure he will get disrespected by the voters just like the refs every night. I thought he got some calls tonight. I'm so happy we don't have to talk about the refs tonight. I did not want to talk about the refs at all because it's been so tiring to talk about the refs ad nauseum. In terms of Brunson. So he got to the line, what was it, 11 times. That's good. He'll take that. And I'm going to say it right now. I think he's going to finish 5th in MVP. I think it's going to go Jokic 1, Luka 2, SGA 3. Actually, no, I don't know about that. That straw poll was... I think it should be Luka 2. I think it's going to go Jokic, SGA, Luka, Giannis, Brunson, Tatum, 6th. And then after 6, I think is where it could get interesting because Kawhi has been sitting out. Who do I think is going to get 7th? Oh, you know who I think is going to get 7th? I bet you Anthony Edwards gets 7th place. Bet you Anthony Edwards gets it. Yeah. That would be my guess. And I don't know what they're going to do after that. Thanks, Alex. Justin, what's going on, Justin? I'm seeing a playoff rotation taking shape. Also, is Brunson just a better, more efficient version of Iverson at this point? My God, you're throwing a haymaker with Iverson. Let me get back to the Iverson point a bit. A playoff rotation taking shape, absolutely. Yeah. They are. I think they know who they're going to have out there now when Brunson doesn't play. I think they know the options that they have out there with Brunson. There are some pivots that Tibbs could make. Doesn't have to be 40-plus minutes of Josh Hart, although I'm fairly certain Josh Hart played 40-plus minutes today. Did he play 40-plus minutes today? I just assume he played 40-plus minutes. But 37 minutes. Brunson played 39. But, yeah, I mean, OG 38 minutes. How about that? I guess there's no minutes limit on OG. OG really, I mean, we've said it so many times. He's really the key that unlocks everything. He unlocks so many different lineups that you could play, and allows you to be a little bit more loosey-goosey with your trading defense for offense. So, yeah, I mean, I think the biggest question for me at this point is game one of the playoffs. Probably my single biggest question in terms of do we see this guy in game one of the playoffs would be Precious Achiuwa. Played 5 minutes tonight. By the way, a name we have not said. Who's not injured tonight. Wasn't even on the injured list. And didn't play a minute. Is Alec Burks. So, as far as Brunson being a more efficient version of Iverson, I'm going to punt on that question, and here's why. One, Allen Iverson was named one of the top 75 players of all time. I think there's a debate about whether he's one of the 50 greatest players of all time. I'd put him in there. I mean, some people would have him in like top 25 or 30. I think that's probably a bit much. But I don't think you can use efficiency as an argument to put one guy over the other because I don't want to, I guess I'll look it up right now. Oh, wow. I really go to this site a lot. I just typed in 2 letters and it led me to the page that I was looking for, which is NBA league averages per game. So when Allen Iverson was in his prime, so let's say 2000, right? Let's say 2000 or 2001. Let's go 2001. The league average effective field goal percentage in 2001 was 47.3. The league average effective field goal percentage right now is 54.7, which is the highest that it has ever been in history league. Topping last year, 54.5. So I don't it's tough to compare players from these eras. Yes, the 3-point shot was like a part of the game then. It wasn't anywhere close to what it is now. So Iverson is awesome. I would love if 5, 6, 7 years from now, A, I hope Jalen Brunson's still a Knick, and B, I hope we could have that conversation then. But AI is he's one of one, man. That dude's special. Thanks, Justin. Twin Orange. What's going on, Twin Orange? Who said the Knicks never have the best player on the floor? Well, they did tonight. And I don't want to hear anything about Dame. You know why I don't want to hear about Dame? And it's not because of his offense. What did he finish? Lillard finished. So this is what I mean about something's not right in the water. I know he got to the free throw line a million times, 15 to be exact. And that was a lot of his possessions. He only took 11. He made 4 field goals tonight. He took 11 shots, made 4 for 11. Again, got to the line 15 times, finished with 23 points. 1 of 7 from 3, which look, Dame's incredible. On the year, he's shooting 35.8% from 3. That's I know he takes a lot of tough threes. Does he have to take all those tough threes with this team? 30 below 36%, that's league average, you know? I know he takes a ton. I know he makes a high degree of difficulty threes. But the biggest reason for me isn't the offense. Dame's still an elite offensive player. If you want to argue that Damian Lillard's a top 15 offensive player in the league right now, I'd hear that argument. But that dude doesn't give a fuck on defense. You want to talk about not caring? You want to talk about show me that you're not fully bought in without telling me you're not fully bought in? Just watch what a guy does on defense. How often are you seeing Dame Lillard really fight in possessions? Whereas Jalen Brunson, is Jalen Brunson a gifted defender? Obviously not. Our team's going to target him left and right? 1,000%. But when do you really watch games and you're like, man, Jalen Brunson is just not giving it his all on defense tonight? Never. It never happens. There are nights he's bad, worse on defense than others. But you're never questioning his fight. And just that alone, being just a pest, to me, that more than anything on the offensive side of the ball, that's what separates Brunson from Dame at this point. Thanks, Twin Orange. Juanon, what's going on, Juanon? I'm so excited now when I see your comments because they're always pretty funny. To everyone who has or is still complaining about Tibbs as a head coach, please take a look at the Bucks. Oof. And I like Doc, but oof. Right coach, right players, right time. Hashtag why not us? Hashtag fire Tibbs. Well, I spoke on this already. I'm not gonna say I feel bad for Doc, but like, you know what I feel bad for? I feel bad for Tibbs' old assistant, Adrian Griffin. Because, like, that dude, like, go find some of the reporting on the Bucks head coach search. I don't know that there was like a universal top to bottom enthusiasm in that organization behind that hire. And the fact that Nick Nurse, Nick Nurse hasn't done a perfect job in Philly, but Nick Nurse is a good coach. Nick Nurse knows how to coach a basketball team. And I think you've seen that for the most part in Philly. And you saw it in Toronto. And the fact that they didn't want Nick Nurse and instead went for Nick Nurse's assistant is very interesting to me. And it didn't work, and Griffin was in over his head. But you want to talk about a untenable situation? Like, it's not like he went in there and was like David Fizdale, their record was good. Their record was very good. And Doc's 2 games under 500. Now, again, I'm not blaming most of that on Doc. I think Doc stepped into a shit show. And I think we're going to learn, again, when this thing goes belly up, and I think this thing in Milwaukee's going belly up. I don't think this core is lasting. When the reports start to come out about this and that and who wasn't happy with this guy, I think we're going to learn a lot more. Thanks, Juana. David Crockett, what's going on, David? I feel bad. GMAC's not here tonight. Kevin's on the 1s and 2s, but I'm going to read it anyway. To GMAC, South Carolina woman, the Mets, and the Knicks all in the same day. I don't even know what to do. Pass out from delirium. Good opportunity for me. I did not know the Mets won today, so congratulations to them. I believe that's their 3rd win. Is that their 3rd one? To the South Carolina women, I'll be honest, I did not watch the game. I was watching Cavs Clippers because I have issues. But congratulations, undefeated season, spectacular. Not a whole lot of undefeated seasons out there in professional or college sports that we get to see, and we got to see one. They beat an all-time great player, obviously, in Caitlin Cooper. Outstanding achievement. So congrats to them, and thanks for the shout out, David. Kevin with another one. To all the credit in the world to Bogey. Yep, he's been getting his love tonight, rightly so. Thinks he makes a playoff impact. We basically clinch a playoff spot tonight, barring crazy tiebreak scenario. Look, they have 4 games left. I don't know who Boston's going to play in that game. If Boston, who the fuck? Maybe Missoula's like, we're going to make life hard for the Knicks because we just want to make life hard for the Knicks. I don't know. I think there's a world where the Knicks are favored in every one of these games. Will they be favored in Chicago? I think they're going to win that game against Chicago. I got to tell you, I really do. And then I know second night of a back-to-back coming on the road in Boston, and then you're going home to face Brooklyn. I can't believe I'm about to say this, but Brooklyn is still fighting. they're still competing. They had the big win against Indiana. I think they have another win that I'm forgetting about. I'll try to look it up. But and like I'm sure they'd love nothing more than to spoil the Knicks season and they'll be on the second night of back-to-back. So let's see. Brooklyn got annihilated by the Kings today. Oh, that's right. They beat the Pistons the game after they beat the Pacers. That's right. How many games will the Knicks play, or how many will they win? How many that they have left? I don't know. Smart money probably says 3, but I got to tell you, I would not be shocked if this team went 4-0. I really wouldn't. So, yeah, I'm not worried about clinching. I think you're right. Effectively, I think we did clinch tonight. Thanks, Kev. Zach Halilovic. What's going on, Zach? My shout out goes to the man who made the former 2-time MVP look human. You guys you're really convincing me to give OG a look for that, one of the stars of the game. Really convincing me. He did. He made him look human. Incredible impact. Thanks, Zach. Bake. It's a good name. We can beat anyone. Anyone could beat us. No one wants to see us. This team is fucking nails. That's great. That's a great That's a great comment because it's true. But here's the thing. You can say that. You can say that about every team in the East other than Boston, right? I think, well, let me rephrase that. You could say that the anyone can beat us part. I think you could say that about anyone in the East other than did I mistake? Oh, thank you, Jonas. I mistakenly called Caitlin Clark Caitlin Cooper. I don't know why I did that. Thank you, Jonas. Anyway, back to this comment. I do believe that anyone could beat anyone else in the East. I don't believe that Boston could lose to just anyone. And I don't believe that anyone could beat Boston. I think only certain teams could beat Boston. So, with that caveat, yeah, I think you just described basically like 2 through 8 in the East, which is fine. But I like our chances better than a lot of the other teams. Thanks, Big. Sam L, what's going on, Sam? What's a good historical player comp for OG Anunoby's best case scenario with this group? Is it Sean Marion, 4-time All-Star, 2-time NBA third team, NBA champ? Sean Marion. How many all-defense teams did Sean Marion make? Someone to look up. Did he ever make an all-defense team? He had to have made all-defense teams. He never made an all-defense team. That's unbelievable. Which is crazy because that's really what I think separated him, is his defense with the offense, which was outstanding. Man, that dude was a part of some special teams in Phoenix. And then obviously went to Dallas and won his championship in Dallas. I don't know that OG is making 4 all-star teams. If I'm going to be honest, that's kind of where I'm at. Because I think the Knicks are going to get somebody. I don't know who. I think that maybe it's just Julius back. And I think it's just really hard for there to be 3 all-stars on one team. And I wonder that if OG is ever going to get into the all-star game over like one of the top 2 guys on his own team. Like the Celtics this year couldn't get a third all-star. The freaking Nuggets couldn't get a second all-star. The Thunder couldn't get a second all-star this year. The Timberwolves barely got a second all-star, and I think there was a lot of consternation about the fact that Cat got in over some other guys. So it's just really hard to get 3. And I feel like OG, for as long as he's here, is always going to be viewed as like 3rd in the pecking order. So I don't know if that's the comp. I don't know what the comp is. I feel like he's going to be like a rich man's Marcus Smart in terms of, but Smart was like the heart and soul of that team, so that doesn't work. And OG is just better, as on both ends of the floor. I don't know. Like maybe I'm just because I read the article. John Hollinger, I think it was, had a great article in the Athletic on the Michael Cooper induction today. But like that's the other thing is like OG. He's not gonna make an all defense team this year because he didn't play enough games. Like how many all defense teams is he gonna make? So maybe you look for someone that made like 3, 4, 5 all defense teams. Like maybe like a better Ron Artest. Is that, but even Artest, I think, didn't he make an all-star team or two? I forget. I don't know. But whatever he is, I think his best case scenario is like the third best guy in the league and the third best guy on a title team. And maybe like the second best guy. Like the conversations that we always had about Draymond versus Clay, like who's the second best player on the Warriors, who's the second most important player on the Warriors. I think we could look back and maybe we'll wind up, if everything goes according to plan, wind up having similar conversations about OG versus someone else on the Knicks. Thanks, Sam. Dom Cappuccini. I'm sure Dom's happy tonight. Before half, I was talking myself into being okay with the 6 seed. LOL. Cue Henry Hill laughing at me. Let's fucking go next. I was right there with you. I did not think they were going to win this game at the halftime. Didn't think we were going to win this game. And we did. Great meme, by the way. Thanks, Dom. Dom with another one. Hello, Bogey. It's nice to finally meet you. I mean, in fairness, we've met him a few times. That Philly game, what he did in that Philly game was one of the best scoring outbursts a Knick has had this year. It was uncanny. And again, I think it's a big reason why they won that game. And he's had moments, right? That's the thing about Bogey is like, it's not like it's been all bad. He hasn't been Alec Burks. Let's just say that. He has not been Alec Burks, who has been an abject disaster from the moment he got here. And like, you can count the amount of positive stretches in games he's had on one hand with fingers left over. Like Bogey has had stretches where it's like, okay, that's good. That's solid. Was tonight the most impactful he has been on a win? I think so. It's either this or the Sixers game. I think so. So it's pretty good. Got to keep it up. Actually, you know what? You're getting me to think about it right now, so I'm going to look it up. Where as far as what he's been recently. Let's get the next super chat up though, and I'll look it up in the meantime. Greg Film Stuff, what's going on, Greg? How are you? JM, hope you and KFS are well. The Randall news made me think our season was capped, but wins like this make you believe. Mitch off the bench is such a luxury that teams don't have, and I think Bojan is our X factor for the playoff success. I don't know why I couldn't think of the term X factor, and I was instead using the term wild card earlier in this. So I've thus far gotten the name of the best player in maybe ever in women's college basketball wrong, and I couldn't think of the term X factor. It's a batter night for me. Anyway, so yeah, Bojan or Josh Hart, I think, is the X factor. But like X factor implies that like you might get a lot or you might get close to nothing. So maybe the shoe fits a little bit better with Bojan because Hart, I feel like if he's going, there's more consistency from him and what he gives you on both ends of the floor. So yeah, maybe Bojan is the X factor. I think that's a good call. As far as Mitch off the bench is a luxury that team. I big step forward for him. I don't think he's all the way back yet. I think we're going to get better and better stuff from Mitch. I think he's going to become better on the offensive glass, not just getting his hands on loose basketballs, but actually coming down with them and kicking out and the whole thing. Touch around the rim, I think, needs to get better. I think we've seen him miss some shots around the rim that he would otherwise normally make. And defensively, I thought the blocks were great. I thought his movement in the second half was better. But even in the first half, I thought there was some possessions where there was one in particular where I feel like Dame had a drive and Mitch was like kind of flat-footed at first and then realized like, oh shit, Dame's driving on me, and then like kind of tried to kick it into high gear. And I'm pretty sure Dame ended up getting fouled on that possession. So like he's not all the way back yet. I think he's gonna get there though. I think he's gonna get there. Thanks, Greg. So film stuff. I appreciate your generous contributions as always. What is this? XE Money Honey X. XE Money Honey X. That's an interesting one. This 8-man rotation might be the best in the NBA. Sucks to see Precious phased out, but I like our chances with this rotation in every series. OG in the second half. I never know how to handle those questions because, like, best 8-man rotation in the NBA. Well, how do you factor in how good the number one guy is? How much do you like you just because you might have the best like 2 through 8 or best 4 through 8 or whatever or best like I don't know 3 through 6 or like it's those questions are always so open to interpretation. Do I think they go a legitimate 8 deep? Yes. Do I think any other team in the league goes this legitimate in terms of like down to their 8th man if Bogey's playing like this? I don't know. The Thunder are pretty stacked. And like Boston, like say what you want about Boston. I think Boston, like, Hauser is he's done the job for them. He's good. But like Peyton Pritchard's their 7th man. I don't. Our 7th man is who? Deuce. I don't know, that's a toss up. I think that's close. It's an interesting conversation. I'm sure Boston fans would say they'd rather have Peyton Pritchard. I'd rather have Deuce McBride. But it's a conversation. It's a conversation, and I wouldn't bet on Precious Achiuwa being phased out just yet. Not quite yet. I think we're going to hear from Precious again before all is said and done. As far as being an impact player for this team, I'll just say that. Thank you, XE Money Honey X. Again, fantastic name. Jessica, what's going on, Jessica? Buck Hunt. I said Buck Hunt win. Buck Hunt. Oh, I get it because of the Bucks. This rules to kill like that in the land Jeffrey Dahmer was from is something. This effing team, they might be able to go further than I thought. Let's go Knicks. I did not know Jeffrey Dahmer was from the greater Milwaukee area, or is he just from Wisconsin? I have no idea. I'm not up on my serial killers as much as I should be. My wife would know this because she adores anything having to do with serial killers, and is a big fan of that genre of stuff. Great win though, and yeah, Buck Hunt, absolutely love it. Jeffrey Lionel Dahmer, also known as the Milwaukee Cannibal or the Milwaukee Monster. That's per Kevin on the 1s and 2s. I had no idea. The Milwaukee Cannibal. Maybe the Bucks should change their name to the Milwaukee Cannibals. By the way, Bojan Bogdanovic, last 8 games, 11.5 points, shooting 53% from the field, 39% from deep, and still 1 turnover per game, which is less than ideal. I think probably, and he's -3 per game, an average of like getting outscored by 3 points. That's not terrible. The shooting numbers are great though. 53% overall, 39.3% from 3. That's really good. So those are Bogey's numbers the last 8 games. Thanks, Jess. Alex, undefeated in the bogey, plays well, and Burke's DMP era. It's well said. Well said indeed. Hopefully the era lasts another game. And another game after that. I can't believe this is Burke's. This is his first DMP. It's wild. That is wild. Thanks, Alex. Knicks Fan Patrol. Dante Dynamite. Jalen Splash Brother. Peak Clay vibes. Yeah, those guys make up a pretty daunting backcourt. It would be really cool if they finished with more total threes than Steph and Clay combined. They're not going to get there this year. Maybe they get there next year. I don't know. Is that going to be possible? I mean, we'll have to see if Klay Thompson is even in Golden State next year. But just looking at the totals, so Steph is like a mile ahead of everybody in threes. He has 339 threes. Klay Thompson is fourth in the league with 248. DiVincenzo is two back of Luka, by the way. He's in third, two back of Luka. He has 270. That's third place. Whereas Jalen Brunson is Jalen Brunson's a little lower than I thought. He's 21st in the league with 194 threes. So, I don't know. Maybe next year. Splash Brothers East might really be a legitimate competitor for Splash Brothers West. We'll see. Thanks, Knicks Fan Patrol. Simon Chu. What's going on, Simon? On the very last play to run out the clock, Hart asking Brunson to give him the ball for the turnover. Microcosm of character and camaraderie on this team. I'll be honest with you, I didn't notice. I was setting up my postgame, my little table here that I have. Didn't notice that. That's awesome. That's very cool. And yeah, these guys like each other. It's a great locker room. It's a great locker room that I think has been. It's gotten even better over the course of the season. I'll just say that. I don't think anybody there is like not on the same page as everybody else. I think these guys genuinely love each other, like each other, whatever you want to say. It's cool to see. Cool to see. Thanks, Simon. Will Oliver, what's going on, Will? One of the best halves we've played all season. I would say so. I mean, the number's been going around a few times already. I'll say it again right now. The Knicks outscored Milwaukee in the second half. This is insane. 72-48. 72-48 in Milwaukee. Like, the Knicks have blown out some teams over halves this year, but shitty teams. Have they done this to a good team, let alone a good team on the road? I don't know that they have. Maybe, again, someone could remind me of a game where they have. I can't remember one, not off the top of my head, at least. Maybe they have. Thanks, Will. Bulldog Boxing Promotions. What's going on, Bulldog Boxing Promotion? Worth the $5 to shit on Doc. Pathetic subbing out the starters when he did. Opposite of Tibbs. Looking forward to seeing the KFS fam at the parade in June. Well, it's great to see you, Bulldog. Feel like I haven't seen you much this year. But yeah. I mean, look, I like Doc. I think Doc's going to make the Hall of Fame one day as a coach. Or maybe as a contributor. I don't know. The Hall of Fame is so weird and wonky and has no rhyme or reason to anything they do. But Doc's won a lot of games. And yeah. So there's that. What is going on in Kentucky? Something's going on. Hold on. I may have to check our Substack here. So apparently John Calipari and Arkansas have entered into serious talks about the head coaching position. This is per Matt Norlander. And and Kentucky has been notified of the talks. Calipari's contract terms mandate he must inform Kentucky if he engages with another school about a job interview. Interesting. For a guy that obviously has very close ties to the Knicks front office. Anyway, thanks again, Bulldog. Ja so focused. 1 game behind 2. Magic and Bucks play twice. Let's go. So that's a gift and a curse, because here's the thing, and this is why I don't think 2 is realistic. First of all, I don't know if you want to, because 2, as of right now, I think the odds are that you'd be playing Philly and Embiid. That's number 1. Number 2, yes, those 2 teams are playing each other. They both own the tiebreaker against the Knicks, and one of those teams has to win each of those games. So that means either the Bucks are getting 2 more wins, the Magic are getting 2 more wins, or they're each getting 1 more win. And in terms of the other games that they play, I don't like. I'll try. Maybe, I don't know if I'm going to have the wherewithal to do it tonight, maybe tomorrow, to construct a scenario where the Knicks could actually get the 2 seed. I have to think it's extraordinarily unlikely, but you never know. Thanks, Ja. The Knicks Take Podcast. What's going on? Knicks Take Podcast. Ja so focused here, John. Oh, I just saw you, though. It's just so strange. What do you mean alive for the 3 seed? Knicks win out and the Bucks Magic split. Who gets the 2 seed? Okay. You want to play this out? Let's play this out. Here we go. So right now, we're a game behind Milwaukee. Milwaukee's remaining schedule: Celtics, Magic, Thunder, Magic. Orlando's remaining schedule: Rockets, Bucks, 76ers, Bucks. So you're saying they split those games. Is it fair to say that the Magic will at least split the other 2 between it's at Houston and at 76ers? So let's say the Magic go 2-2, right? All right. Now Milwaukee's schedule. They play the Celtics and they play the Thunder. So we're saying, again, Milwaukee splits against the Magic. Okay, I see what you're saying here. You're saying there's an increased likelihood of the Bucks losing to both the Celtics on Tuesday and at OKC in the penultimate game of the season. Let's play it out both ways. Let's say the Bucks go 2-2, and let's say the Magic go 2-2. So in that scenario, if the Knicks go 3-1, the Bucks will have the 2 seed because the Bucks own the tiebreaker. So, but if the Knicks go 4-0, they would have it, even if the Bucks go 2-2. So basically, you're saying you think either the Knicks are going to go 4-0, which I said earlier is possible. I'm gonna have to eat crow. I'm gonna be wrong on this. I said earlier the Knicks could go 4-0. All right, if the Knicks go 4-0. So then you're counting on a split, right? You're counting on a split between those 2 teams, because I think it would be tough. I think this would be. But then again, if the Knicks go 4-0, then they would finish 2 games ahead of the Magic. If they went 2-2, so even if the Magic won both games off the Bucks and they split their other one, if the Knicks go 4-0, the Knicks still finish ahead of the Magic. You know what? Well, look, let's see them go at least 3-1. And you know what else? Let's see the Celtics beat Milwaukee. Now Knicks Take Podcast is saying, never mind, the Bucks have to lose another game for 33 losses. No, I think they could lose. Again, who's Boston playing in that game? We don't know. And by the way, with some of the losses the Bucks have had recently, if the Celtics play half a team, maybe they'll still wind up beating Milwaukee with how they're playing recently. I got to tell you, man, you prove your point. I think the 2 seed is more It's more in reach than I thought it was before I actually went through this, a few minutes ago. So good job by you. Jose Vallejo, Mitch, and OG kept Giannis in jail. # defense. Yes. Excellent job by both of them. Not a good second half from Giannis. Not a good second half from the Bucks. Who from the Bucks played? Oh, wait, I'm sorry. You know who deserves a big shout out? Haven't said his name yet, or I think I said his name once on this pod earlier. Bobby Portis, man. Good for that dude. He has absolutely found the very best version of his career in Milwaukee. And that's really great to see. That dude is one of the best 6 men in the league. He could start games for you if you need. He's just a really solid player. He's definitely been helped, I think, by the fact that, like, he gets to play in a Milwaukee team that up until this year, at least, has had some real defensive infrastructure. But, yeah. Shout out to Bobby Portis. Once a Knick, always a Knick. Thanks, Jose Von. Kento Cato. What's going on, Kento? Milwaukee's good but beatable. Obviously, they are. The Bucks obviously can't stop Brunson. No, they cannot. Bogey is huge. OG, Hart, massive, even without shots falling. Dante was incredible. This team, even without Randall, is a team nobody wants to play. Can I just say, holy shit, now Shams has it. Sorry. John Calipari in serious talks on a deal to become the new head coach of the University of Arkansas. Wow. Jalen Brunson, what? Okay, sorry, that just distracted me. Is this a team nobody wants to play? You know what I like about tonight? I like a lot of things about tonight. You know what I like about tonight? The Knicks, yes, they were hot from 3 in the second half. They ended up shooting 48% from 3 in the second half. But they didn't have a 48-minute game tonight. The Knicks won tonight going away, and they played for really like a 24-minute basketball game. They hung around for 24, but then they really played their brand of basketball for 24 minutes. That's a great sign. And then the other thing that you said, and I spoke about this a little bit in the last game when I was kind of saying I think Orlando would have at least a game plan to give them a chance against the Knicks. Just like try to let Brunson get whatever he's going to get one-on-one. The reason that could work is they have real defensive bodies to frustrate Jalen Brunson. The Bucks don't have a single person in terms of perimeter defense that is going to frustrate Jalen Brunson. And I think Jalen Brunson proved now over the course of his full body of work against Milwaukee. I think I retweeted something earlier tonight, which about like how Brunson, I should know what the hell comes up my own Twitter account. Like the first player in like quite some time to have the amount of success he had against the Bucks in a single season in like a long time. Here, I'll go try to find it right now. Yeah, here we go. I'm not going to pronounce this person's name because I'm going to butcher it. Kirthika, who I guess maybe covers the Bucks. Jalen Brunson has 4 30-point games against Milwaukee this season, the most by any player against the Bucks since Allen Iverson in 2004-2005 season. So I think Jalen Brunson has more than proven that like he could get what he needs to get against the Bucks without breaking too much of a sweat, you know? That's a scary proposition for Milwaukee. Because, like, I think he could do what I think if they play like they play in the second half, and if he plays like he played in the second half, and really is able to parlay his individual brilliance into getting good shots for his teammates. Yeah, no, this Milwaukee team can't stop the Knicks. You know, so it'll be a high scoring series, I think. Probably. Thanks, Kento. OG team, what's going on, OG team? OG might not give $35 million worth of production, but definitely $35 million worth of impact. Finding a better co-star next to JB is high priority. You'll notice, OG team, that at no point in time, since they got OG Anunoby, have I once even veered on like in like the neighborhood of OG Anunoby is not worth whatever the hell the Knicks are going to give him. I keep referring to him as this thing, and I think the shoe fits. He is the skeleton key. He unlocks everything. He gives you so much on defense, which when you combine that with their penchant for finding elite fives on the defensive end and elite rim protection and other guys who like do their job on the perimeter to surround Jalen Brunson with, and then you add in the fact that I know he didn't do it tonight, but like can do what he could do on offense. Is no qualms whatsoever from me about paying this guy whatever he's going to get. $35 million, fine. Sign me up. And if you're someone who's like, he only averages this many points a game and he's hurt all the time, like, if you don't pay him this, somebody else will. And they will be happy to do it, which should tell you all you need to know. Thank you, OG team. Jay Berg, what's going on, Jay Berg? Missed the second half to help my friend move. Good karma for the win. This team still has no ceiling. They could beat anyone on any night. Why not us? I love it. I love it. Let's get into the dance, man. Let's start dancing and see where when the music stops, who's left standing. Also, what time zone are you in that you just got done helping a friend move? Or are you in the Eastern Conference time zone? I'm like fascinated by this because it's 11:16 p.m. Here now, although I guess the game ended like almost 2 hours ago. So, but yeah, go help somebody else move. If there's like a do or die game in the playoffs, please find someone else to help them move too. Thanks, Jay Berg. David Crockett with another one. Thank you again, my friend. Shout out to Tibbs for letting others bring up the ball and set the offense. Teams have been beating Brunson's brains in on the bring up. Yeah, and it was like a mini revelation when Josh Hart had the ball at the top of the key. You know, like Josh Hart running pick and roll. Is it something you want him doing all the time? God, no. Do you want it to be like a staple of your game plan? Probably not. Is it a look that you could throw other teams to like switch things up a bit and leverage the fact that Brunson, in addition to being one of the best shot creators in the entire league, is also a deadly off-ball threat? Abso-freaking-lutely. And then when you combine Josh Hart's ability to move with the ball on offense, which again he could do very well, with Hartenstein as the pick and roll partner there, well then now we're really in business. I loved that. And to your point, it shouldn't just be Hart that gets the opportunity to do that. They like DiVincenzo could do that and should do that. You know, when Brunson's in the game, when Brunson's not in the game. So I love it. Good call by you. My goodness. This is, well, I guess maybe one of those nights. Haircut correct, like Anthony Mason, with just a beyond generosity, the level of the super chat. Thank you. I hope you actually have a haircut that is correct, like Anthony Mason, because he had the most correct haircuts of all time. Been meaning to contribute for a while, John. KFS content is second to none. Oh, jeez, what are you doing here? Cheers to the rest of this season, regardless of where we finish. Best year I've had as a Knicks fan since '94. Been dreaming of a lineup with OG, Mitch, and Deuce for months. Well, first and foremost, thank you. We strive to put out the best content on any that anyone, any team-centric site does. Not just in the NBA, not just in basketball, but anywhere across professional sports. That's my goal. And I know that goal is shared by everybody here. So, something this generous makes me feel like if we can inspire you to do this, which again, thank you, makes me feel like maybe we're coming close to achieving our goal. As far as that threesome, wonder how well. So it's interesting because tonight. So I want to bear with me for a sec. I think Hartenstein's going to keep getting the early, like 6 minutes, and then go to the bench. I think they like that, and then maybe, and then I think that might be true for first quarter and third quarter. And Mitch, I wonder if they're going to start extending him a little bit more, but it feels like he's going to be in there to start closing the first quarter, and then Hartenstein will come back in for the start of the second and the start of the fourth to play the non-Brunson minutes, which means, as we've been seeing, Brunson is either going to play the entire first quarter, or, well, no, not. I think come playoff time, I think Brunson is going to play the entire first quarter. Maybe there are certain situations where he takes Brunson out with a minute or two to go in the first. But then there's the OG part of it, because OG, I also think, is going to get the early-ish hook because, again, he wants OG out there, I believe, just like he's going to want Hartenstein out there for the non-Brunson minutes. This is a very, very long-winded way of saying I don't know how many minutes you're going to get with those three together, because I think the Deuce minutes are obviously Deuce is going to play when Brunson does not play. I guess, you know when you'll get it, probably? No, because then he's not going to bring OG back into the top of the second quarter. I don't know how many of those minutes you're going to get. I'm trying to think what if maybe McBride. I don't know. Did we? So I'm talking around this because I frankly don't remember if we got any of these minutes tonight. I'm assuming we got at least a few of these minutes tonight, probably in the second half, right? Either way, I could see why you're excited about it because it's, you got three premier defenders, but I think the fact that I'm kind of going around in circles in my head about this speaks to the fact that I think Tibbs is going to be really purposeful about mixing and matching these different weapons that he has to try to make sure he gets because there's so many masters that he has to serve. He has to serve balancing offense defense for 48 minutes, and he has to serve surviving the non-Brunson minutes, but also making sure that the Brunson minutes are like maxing those out and making sure that they are the best possible minutes, that like the best possible situation for Brunson to be able to be successful, because ultimately that's what's going to matter. Here, Andrew just texted me. The non-Brunson minutes in the fourth were Mitch, OG, Deuce, plus DiVincenzo and Bogey. Yeah, but how many of those? So they were a few minutes at the top of the fourth quarter. I guess what long and the short of it is, I wonder whether we're going to continue to see Mitch with those lineups or whether it's going to be Hartenstein. That's what I'm wondering, because I wouldn't be surprised. Yes, it was very good. Edge is telling me it was good. Yeah, it was very good. And the defense was spectacular. Still, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw more time with Hartenstein instead of Mitch in that alignment. Maybe not. And maybe he felt that Mitch had earned that time because Mitch had played better in the second half than I think he played in the first half. Yeah, I don't know. I think that's what the question comes down to for me. Who's at center during those minutes? So we'll see. That was good though. By the way, John Calipari looks like he's going to be the next head coach of Arkansas. It's pretty wild. Thanks. It was good. It was a good little deep dive we did. And sorry, my memory shit. Nick Greenberg, what's going on, Nick? No surprise, Bogey's best night with OG puts everyone in place, as you said. Hopefully, an unlock, unsolicited Clyde pitch, bogey from the boogie down. I like that. That's pretty good. Yeah, OG plus bogey. I'm upset that we never got to see a single minute of Bogdanovich and Randall, and I would wager that we will never. Well, you never know. Maybe I'm not holding my breath that we'll get those minutes next year. But yeah, I mean, you need OG out there with him. You're gonna have Deuce out there with him, and I like DiVincenzo too. I don't downplay DiVincenzo out there with him, because initially in the beginning of the second quarter it was Hart, and then I noticed, did not think it was an accident. Tibbs did not wait very long to pull Hart and put in DiVincenzo to give that group a little bit more spacing and count on the fact that between McBride and Anunoby and Hartenstein, that group could succeed defensively. Thanks, Nick. Stevens Guillame, what's going on? You're gonna make me say the word that everybody makes fun of me for saying. Huge win. At this point in the season, is capturing the number 2 seed still possible? Yeah, we went through it a few minutes ago. I think it is possible. I think it's likely going to take a 4-0 finish. And I think it is, and or Boston playing all their guys against Milwaukee, which I don't know if we're getting. But I think it's possible. It's possible, which is freaking wild to be able to say that. It's crazy. Thanks, Stevens. Appreciate you, man. Dom Cappuccini, what are your top 5 best signature wins so far? Oh, man, Dom, you're going to do this to me now? Okay. Only because I love you. Top 5 signature wins this season. All right, well, this is one of them. I mean, the Pacer game that had us all in tears, I will remember for the rest of my life. So that's one of them. Oh, man. After that, there's so many different contenders. Jeez. Oh, the Cavs game without Brunson has to be on there. So let's see. Let's keep track here. So we got Bucks game, Pacers game where Brunson was crazy. The Cavs game where Brunson was injured. I think the Sixers game where they kicked the shit out of the Sixers with Embiid, the third game with OG, I think that has to be on there. I think that has to be on the list. And I think it has to be on the list because that was the moment where all of us started looking around and we were like, holy sugar. What do we have here? So let's put that on the list as well. And then after that, you could literally pick any of 10 games. You could pick the Wolves game, the first OG game. You could pick the Denver game, obviously. Although I'll always, when I think of that game, for better or worse, I'm always going to think about the fact that the Nuggets were on the 5th game of a 5-game road trip. It's sad to say, but we're always going to remember the Miami win, right? For better or worse, the second Miami, the one where the guys got injured. The Orlando win where they kicked the crap out of Orlando at the beginning of March. That was a big win. The 2 West Coast wins in Sacramento and in Golden State, I thought those were big wins. And the one we had a couple days ago against Sacramento, I thought the Sacramento win was a big win. You know what I'm going to go with, though, for the 5th one? I'm going to go with the first Miami win. And that is because this team played for whatever it was, 10 weeks with a different version of the team. And we shouldn't erase that time. And that was an absolute signature victory in the moment. And it really did feel big at the time. The team was hovering around 500. They were coming off a bad loss in Minnesota. Were they 500? They're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So they were 8-6 at the time. So had they lost that game, they would have fallen to 8-7. So yeah, that was a big win in the moment. And there's a bunch of other ones, like when Brunson went off for 50 against the Suns. That was a big game. But I'll go with those 5. So Bucks, Pacers, Cavs without Brunson, Sixers, Heat. Thanks, Tom. Josso focused. We got another. So this is following up on the previous thing about the Bucks still got to win against Boston and OKC. Yeah, the Bucks. We know what the Bucks have to do. The Bucks just have to win. How about that? The Bucks have not won in a while. They have lost 4 straight games. The Bucks need to win. It doesn't matter who it comes against. I have no idea if you're a Bucks fan right now. What do you think after today? Because unlike the last 3 games, you had Giannis and Dame. The last 3 games, you didn't have one of those 2 guys was out. Are Bucks fans just going to latch on to the fact that Chris Middleton was out for the second half? Maybe. That wouldn't get me to sleep at night if I was a Bucks fan. Thanks, Joe. Alex with another one. Giannis is amazing. This isn't saying otherwise. He's top 10 all time already. I'll push back against that. But Silver can't say he wants to eliminate foul hunting and have refs single out JB, but let Giannis get away with all that. Very, 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 very different players to referee. And it does seem like the sort of stuff that they're trying to litigate out of the game centers on stuff that guards do. Now, I think that's the point that you're making. Is that fair? No, probably not fair. But I also don't. I don't know. I don't know that I watched Giannis tonight and be like, man, the fact that he still gets this whistle is such bullshit. I'm not there. If you're there, I don't begrudge you for it. You might be right. You probably have more people in your camp than mine. So it's very fair. Giannis is not a top 10 player all time already, because that would mean that you're putting him ahead of Larry Bird or Steph Curry or, to say nothing of guys like Hakeem and Shaq and Kobe and KD. I have all of those guys pretty squarely above Giannis right now. To me, Giannis is somewhere in that 15 to 20 range. I think maybe he's closer to the top of that range. Maybe he's on the bottom. Maybe he's on the very bottom of the top 15. Is Giannis right now ahead of Dr. J? Is he ahead of Moses? Moses won 3 MVPs and a championship. Is he ahead of Oscar Robertson? There's a name. Pretty good basketball player. To say nothing of guys that get pushed that are getting pushed down the list all the time, like Jerry West. Is Giannis ahead of Dirk? Dirk, 1-time MVP, 1 championship, much longer career, had some playoff foibles, but then made up for it in spectacular fashion, as did Giannis. But Giannis never had Dirk's, I think, playoff foibles. But those Garnett, is Giannis ahead of Garnett? Is Giannis ahead of Barkley? I think a lot of people would probably put Giannis ahead of Barkley at this point. Barkley never won a championship, only got 1 MVP. Giannis, 2 MVPs, 1 championship. I don't know, man. Prime Barkley, that dude was pretty good. So I think these are all interesting conversations to have. but he's I mean, he's in the top 20 for sure, and I think he's probably somewhere around 15. I know that wasn't the point of your super chat, but I love these sorts of conversations. And yeah, we're probably around about the point in time where the top 25 needs a revamp. I did my list a couple years ago when they did the top 75, but I could probably afford to revisit that. Maybe this summer. Maybe that'll be a newsletter topic or a Patreon topic. Thanks, Alex. Charlie Boy Third. What's going on, Charlie Boy Third? How are you? Hey, John, this is as close to a playoff rotation that we've seen, and it sure looks good. Deuce, Bogey, and Mitch with DiVincenzo and OG is a solid bench lineup, only going to get better from here. Hashtag Eastern Conference Finals. So we got another fan of Mitch with that bench. Speaking of which, this is, again, per Fred Katz. This is how Mitchell Robinson described his conditioning. Low as shit. Says he thinks the defense is coming back before the offensive rebounding. Gun to my head, which center do I want out there with McBride, Bogey, DiVincenzo, and OG? I'm still going to say Hartenstein, but I'm not going to say it as forcefully as I think I would have when I first started thinking about this at the beginning of this post game. Just what Hartenstein, the extra dimension it gives you on offense. Because here's the thing. Just go with me for a second. With Mitch out there, you're not like factoring Mitch into your offensive setup. He's a lob threat. Absolutely. He's an offensive rebound threat. 100%. But like, you're not running the offense through Mitch. So that means you're asking Bogey or DiVincenzo or McBride to basically operate out of the pick and roll and to break guys down on the pick and roll. And I don't know how successful those guys have been consistently at doing that, which again could lead to some possessions where at the end of the possession it's just like, all right, Bogey, go create something, which is I think what you want to try to avoid. And while Mitch at his peak, I think gives you, as we saw tonight, more splash plays on defense. And why are splash plays important? Splash plays are important because that's the best way to get from defense to offense, and you get out on the break. And we saw that unit, succeed that way tonight. I think I'd rather have Hartenstein's more diverse offensive skill set with that backup unit, I think. But again, reasonable minds may differ on that. Thanks, Charlie Boy Third. Appreciate you. Pierate Prentice. What's going on? Longtime listener, always keeping it real, Macri, but let's be honest, Brunson is top 5, top 7 at this point. If we make a deep playoff run, he's cemented. Again, I think there are so many different conversations you could have about this in terms of like player ranking in the league versus who do I want to build my team around, considering their age, considering their impact on the locker room, considering how sure I am that they are going to stay here and not want to ask out to another situation. Like that's more getting into like the trade value, but it's not really the trade value list because it's a version of the trade value list that factors in, I'm trying to win a championship this year, right? I'm trying to win a championship this year, maybe next year, the year after that. I mean, you could argue he's in the top 5 or top 7. Top 5's a little tough. Top 7's a little easier. Top 7's a little easier. Top 5's tough. I mean, it's an insanely talented league right now, is the reality. We got a guy in Dallas, in Luka Doncic, who is putting up numbers that like nobody's ever put up before. Forget about Jokic. Jokic is in the category of his own. But like what Doncic is doing is insane. I mean, Giannis, as many have said, Giannis is putting up numbers that nobody's ever put up before this year. It's really crazy. But all that being said, I don't know. I'll say this. I would feel a hell of a lot more comfortable. I do feel a lot more comfortable right now as a Knicks fan with Jalen Brunson as the face of my franchise than I would if I was a Milwaukee fan with Giannis as the face of my franchise. And that is not to speak about Giannis as a player, but it does speak to, well, am I sure this guy is like all in on this franchise, 110%, and like not going to get cold feet if this year doesn't end the way he wants it to? How do you factor that into your player rankings? I don't know. It's, again, these are tricky conversations to have. Thank you for the contribution. Frank Miranda. Oh boy, here we come. Here we go. What's up, Mac? It's your boy Frank from Patreon. Nice exercise of JB in the top 10. Sorry, Mac. I'm taking him over Giannis and Steph at this point as well. Giannis is a superstar who you cannot go down the stretch and wants no part of it. You probably don't want the ball in Giannis's hands in the last 5 minutes of a close game. And defensively, he is. I mean, look, he was the former Defensive Player of the Year. So when you say he has fallen off defensively, that is not like even him falling off. Like he may make all defense this year. I don't think he will, but he'll get votes. But like, he's not a stopper on defense. I'll say that. He's not a stopper on defense. They don't want him to try. They don't even try to make him a stopper because they want him in help, as many have talked about. And is he as effective in that role as he maybe used to be? That's part of it. And then on offense, you would have thought that by giving him Dame, it would have just over for the rest of the league. Over. Done. And look, their numbers are really good. Their offense, if you go look up their offensive ranking is awesome. The numbers with Dame and Giannis on the court offensively are awesome. I don't know. Giannis is a tough one. Now, Steph, he is slumped now for a little while, and he's 34 years old, I believe. Still the best shooter alive. He's asked to do so much for his team. Man, is Jalen Brunson a better player than Steph Curry right now? My God. Look, here's what I'll say. The fact that I could sit here, and you know me, Frank. You know I'm not afraid to say something that is unpopular if I don't, if I believe the thing, I'll say it even if I think it's unpopular. The fact that I have to sit here and be like, man, is Steph Curry really a better player than Jalen Brunson? The fact that I have to go back and forth about that in my own head, that says everything about where Jalen Brunson has ascended to as an NBA player. The fact that that's even a conversation, and again, someone may watch this and be like, it's not a conversation, Macri. Steph is just better. Okay. I would argue that it's a very real conversation. Thank you, Frank. Mark Sable, what's going on, Mark? No insightful comment. Just wanted to thank you and the whole KFS crew for your best season yet. Well, Mark, you have been such a longtime supporter of us in more ways than one, and definitely value your friendship over these years. You didn't need to do this. A DM would have been fine, but I appreciate it. Appreciate you, and hope all is well. And we'll have to catch up over the summertime for sure. Thanks, man. David Sancherico? I hope I got that right. Watching that iHeart floater touch the ozone layer before going in every time really had me swooning tonight. The one that how many times did it bounce off the rim? I think that might have been the last one that went down for him. How many times did that bounce, and then went in? And that was still a close game at that point, or close enough where I was like, "Whoo!" Thank God that went down. His ascension what man, I have to do a better job of keeping track of like stats that I find. So here we go. So Isaiah Hartenstein had 18 points tonight. This is gonna take me a minute. All right, it'll be worth it. Here, you know what? I'll get back to it, David. Kev, get the next super chat up here, and then I'll go back on the Hartenstein thing that I want to look up. Sam L. Doc Zoidberg threw in the towel a bit early tonight. I'm gonna be honest. I have no idea what that reference is to. I'm sure it's to something obvious. Again, I'm so out on like pop culture and news or anything. Zoidberg. Kev, you got it? Oh, it's a character on Futurama. Oh, okay. I'm not. I think I probably watched like the first season of Futurama when it was on Fox when it came out. I don't think I've watched it since then. Okay. I think I could find this pretty quickly now. All right, let's get another one up here. Thank you, Sam. Appreciate that. Ja, so focused. Ja, you're an animal tonight. Brunson, more 40-point games than Melo and Bernard in one season, I believe, right? In one season, to be clear. Third most in the franchise for one season. Sorry, Andrew. I'm choosing best Nick since Ewing and best coach since. Man, I'm not opening either of those can of worms tonight. Let me say this. Jalen Brunson has the perfect coach for him. And he has an organization that is quite literally family. And has gone out, and for as much as I like to point out, and many have pointed out, that this front office has gone out and gotten players who will fit for Tibbs, they have gone out and gotten players there that play well with Jalen Brunson and that complement Jalen Brunson and that play the game and approach the game like Jalen Brunson. Carmelo Anthony had to deal with a franchise and at that time that for the vast majority of his time here was a clusterfuck of mammoth proportions up and down. And look, you want to tell me part of that was on Melo because he didn't want to play the 4 and like Stoudemire was here, but Melo wanted to play 3. Like, we could have all those conversations, I guess. But like, they're both really great. As far as Tibbs, I mean, it's in my lifetime, it's him, Jeff, and Pat. They're special in different ways. Yeah, I don't know. They're special in different ways. Pat Riley is one of the greatest coaches of all time, and did a great job here. And Jeff Van Gundy might be my favorite person that's ever been associated with the Knicks. So that says what I think about Jeff Van Gundy. But Tibbs is awesome. They're both we're very lucky to have all of these guys. Okay, here we go. Thanks, Ja. Jason Feldman. What's up, Jason? How are you, man? Just approached by a woman at JFK pointing to my Knicks hat. iHeart's mom. Lovely conversation. Wants to stay in New York. Love for Mitch is real. That's awesome. That's really cool. Well, I could tell you just again, because I get the pleasure of talking to Fred Katz about this stuff. The relationship between him and Mitch is 100% legit. As far as that he wants to stay in New York, yeah, I mean, he said that again. I'll reference it again. If you haven't already read it, go read the Michael Scotto interview with Isaiah Hartenstein, where he went on the record and said, if the money's equal, do you want to stay in New York? And he's like, yeah. Now it's about opening up the checkbook. And here's the good news. They could open up the checkbook. to a certain extent. What they could offer beats any other team's full mid-level or any other team. The full mid-level, right? That what they could offer starts at a higher number by a million or 2 million or something around there than what the full mid-level is going to be. So it would take another team dipping into cap space, which is, again, I know there's going to be teams with space this summer, and I know the free agent pool this summer is not great, but those dollars dry up quickly. And you have to ask yourself, is there really going to be a team out there who is going to say, yes, we are going to, here's, 4 years, $72 million, something like that. Because that's the sort of offer that it would take. And that's the other part of it, right? By the way, because I don't know if they're going to do it. I don't think they're going to need to do it. And I'm not sure they would. The Knicks could go a fifth year on Hartenstein, right? So even if another team went crazy and with something like 4 for 72, which I don't see that. I don't see it. I could be wrong. There are some analytics. There are some teams out there that love analytics. And I don't know if there's a player out there who's hitting the free agent market this summer that the analytics like more than Isaiah Hartenstein. So who knows? I don't see that offer coming. And even if it does, just for what it's worth, again, the Knicks could go a fifth year. That's one of the changes in the new CBA. You do not have to, you could have a full 5-year contract, or you could have a 5-year contract that is sub-max. You didn't used to be able to do that. Now you can. So that's a significant thing. Speaking of Hartenstein, I hope this is, no, of course, this is not what I was looking for. I'm going to try to find it again. What I'm trying to find, and and what I hope this is now it that I discovered recently. Yes, here we go. So Isaiah Hartenstein, over the course of so he had played in up until the Heat game, the Heat game where Julius went down. Isaiah Hartenstein had played in 291 career games up until that point in time. He had scored 17 or more points 4 times in 291 career games. Since that time, he has now, including tonight, he has scored 17 or more points 5 times, including now, I think, 4 times in his previous, what is tonight? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 4 times in his previous 10 games, including tonight, Isaiah Hartenstein has scored 17 or more points. He had done that. That's the same amount of times that he had done it in his first 291 career games. The Isaiah Hartenstein revolution is happening. Get on board. Thank you, Jason. Andrew Claudio. What is happening here? Why? What are you doing, Andrew? You silly man. That's all right. You're just gonna expense this, so I don't feel too bad. Hi, Mac. First time, long time. Despise the precious Mitch minutes. What is it with this coach and his stubborn LMAO? Fuck all that noise. Oh my God. It's so weird when you curse, even if it's in the super chat. Please take 10 seconds to laugh at Doc. My only ring is because Tibbs ran my defense Rivers. I am not going to do that. We respect our opponent. We respect our opponent's head coach. And that is all I have to say about that. Thank you for the generous contribution, Andrew. Sam Garcia, what's going on? Sam Garcia. Mania took priority. Oh yeah, there was a wrestling thing tonight. I saw my other text thread, I think, was talking about that. Was Dwayne Johnson involved? I believe he was. Not laughing at him. Andrew keeps texting me to laugh at Doc. Anyway, but we're still able to watch the game. What a great win, and I feel really confident that we'll finish as a top 3 seed. Again, I don't. Wherever we finish, we finish. I'm looking forward to rolling the old dice and taking some chances on the rest of this Eastern Conference, wherever we end up. But yeah, hope you enjoyed WrestleMania. Thank you, Sam. Wow. Is this really our last super chat, Kev? Robert W. Cross just snuck one in under the wire. First time, long time. It's your boy, John. I couldn't send you a super chat mid-flight to San Diego. Why are you going to San Diego? Why are you going back to old stomping grounds? We're going to have to DM me and let me know what's up. Is it fair and reasonable to say that Jalen, do what you like, Brunson, is a top 10 NBA player? I don't want Bowser here. Or I don't know what IS stands for. I don't want Bowser here. Celebrate. Thanks. So I think Bowser is what the nickname that Robert W. Cross has given to Joel Embiid. I'm pretty sure. I don't want to speak out of turn, but I'm pretty sure. Listen, why not both? Yes, I think he's a top 10 NBA player. I think Joel Embiid's also a top 10 NBA player. I think the track record throughout NBA history of pairing two top 10 NBA players whose games work well with one another has been pretty good. I think those guys would work pretty well together. And here's the best part. And I'm going to end it with a compliment to Jalen. Could Jalen be the best player on a championship team? I absolutely think he can. I think it would take a certain type of roster. I still think there needs to be another shot creator here. I'm not 100% convinced that second shot creator is Julius Randle. I do believe that second shot creator needs to complement Jalen Brunson in some very specific ways. But if they bring in another guy here, whether it's Embiid or whoever, whether it could be Giannis, who the hell knows? Where the perception is that Jalen Brunson should be subservient or the number 2, right? I don't think for one solitary second that Jalen Brunson will have any qualms whatsoever about quote unquote sacrificing. And I say quote unquote sacrificing because in his mind, it won't be a sacrifice because to him, making some other superstar or star happy and letting them eat and letting them get what they want out of the situation, but because it will lead to winning, it's not going to be a sacrifice to him, even if he has to get less shots and score less points and whatever else. He's not going to look at that as a sacrifice. He's going to look at that as we're winning. And that's the best part about Jalen Brunson because that's all he cares about is winning basketball games. As an aside, since January 27th, let's end it here. We'll end on a Jalen. This has been a love fest for a lot of different Knicks, but let's keep it a buck as to who should get the most love. Since Julius Randle and OG Anunoby, now I know Anunoby's obviously back, so let's just say since Julius Randle went down with what turned out to be a season-ending injury, Jalen Brunson is second in the league in scoring to Luka Doncic. Luka's at 33% or 33 points per game. Jalen Brunson, 30.6 points per game. Just ahead of Giannis Antetokounmpo at 30.1 points per game. Those are the three guys averaging 30 points a game since January 20, the games that were played on January 27th, not including those games. That's a span of 27 games. That is 1/3 of an NBA season. Exactly. 1/3 of an NBA season. Jalen Brunson's team in that time, in games that he has played, 27 games, they're 17-12. Giannis's team in that time, 13-15. Interesting. So, and he's at Dame for a lot of those games. Let dog go hunt, is what I'm saying. Oh, wait, no, we got a few more now. Hold on. We got a couple more that stuck in here. Robert Cross, first time, long time. It's your boy John. Game on the line. Do you want the ball in Embiid's or Brunson's hand? The other shot creator will be Booker. I'll take Brunson over Embiid just because I'm always going to want to have the ball in the hands of a guard rather than a big guy. And Devin Booker, well, listen, that's up to Devin Booker. Devin Booker's under contract for several more years. How much does he want to agitate in Phoenix, which, I don't know. We'll see. Maybe it is him. I wouldn't mind. I love Devin Booker, but I will say this. Like, DiVincenzo's a pretty dynamite shooting guard here. Not say he couldn't be a pretty dynamite shooting guard off the bench. He could. Or in, like, 3-guard lineups. Absolutely. But DiVincenzo's pretty good. Thank you, Robert. I think we got another couple of. Andrew Claudio, laugh at him. I'm not going to laugh at Doc Rivers. I have too much respect for Doc Rivers. I also can't laugh on call. It's just not what I do. You could laugh at him, though. And I'll live vicariously through you. Thank you, Andrew Claudio. Andrew Claudio again. Also, shout out Cody Rhodes. I don't know who that is. One of the greatest underdog WWE storylines. Came back like a team trailing Doc Rivers in a playoff series. So Cody Rhodes is a wrestler. Okay. Andrew, it's funny that Andrew's texting me and super chatting. What are you doing, Andrew? You're a crazy man. And apparently one more from Andrew. Oh no, this is from Robert. First time, long time. It's your boy John. I could teach D Book how to be an. Sorry, let me say that again. I could teach D Book how to be an agitator. I excel at it. I'm sure you could. Robert. Thank you for the generous contribution. And man, you really just did get off the plane, didn't you? Another one from Robert Cross. My classmate AG is laughing at Doc. Hashtag haul in. Classmate AG. You mean AC? I don't know. Haul in. What does haul in mean? I don't know what haul in means. I'm not going to laugh at Doc. Doc says, Doc, how many wins does Doc have? I'm going to look. You're going to make me look it up right now. Doc, come on. Doc's like. I know Doc hasn't had the best year. Here, how many wins does Doc have? Doc has 1,112 wins. He could, he's going to I would imagine he's going to coach this team next year because they signed him to a contract of how many years? It is entirely possible that Doc Rivers, well, he will pass Phil Jackson if he coaches next year. And he's probably might pass George Karl for 6th on the all-time list. But guy has the 8th most wins in NBA history. He's a good coach. He's not having a great run at things right now. Thank you, Robert. Is there still more? My God, there's still more. Andrew Claudio. To the voters of that stupid MVP ladder, acknowledge Jalen Brunson, Roman Reigns' voice. Look, it's one author on NBA.com. To be very clear, it is one author on NBA.com. Anybody can go look it up if they want to. I'm pretty sure the MVP ladder drops on Mondays, so we'll probably see it tomorrow, or maybe it drops. I don't know when the hell it drops. It drops when it drops. I'm not certain if the person who writes that column actually watches NBA games. No shade. No disrespect. But I think one of the job qualifications for writing for NBA.com should be that you are required to view the basketball games of the league that the website is about. So perhaps that person should, watch a little bit less Netflix and tune into more basketball games. But to be clear, it's just one person. Thank you, Andrew. Kevin Danishevsky, concerned about OG's elbow, seemed to favor it. What? No, he didn't. When? I didn't notice that. I don't know where you're getting that from, Kev. I didn't see anything. And now we're almost done. Or so Kev tells me. Robert Cross with another one. My goodness gracious. Go to bed, Kevin. Also, we don't want to hear about Mikal Bridges ever again. Okay. Thank you, Robert Cross. And one more for Robert Cross. AG equals Adrian Griffin. Hall in equals Seton Hall, for fuck's sake. I'm sorry. I don't have time to follow college sports at this point in my life. I forgot that Adrian Griffin was a Seton Hall guy. I did not know he was in your class. Why don't you get him on the pod for us? How about that? He's not doing anything. He's not coaching an NBA team. Why don't you make the connect, Robert? Can we do that? Could you hook that up? I'd really appreciate it. I'd love to ask Adrian Griffin about the job that Doc Rivers is doing this year. I think that would make for a scintillating conversation. How about that? Thank you, Robert. Andrew, Jesus Christ. They don't want to let me get to writing my newsletter. Andrew Claudio, have to hand it to you. You're resilient. No quitting you whatsoever. The Bucs should have hired you instead. That wouldn't be collapsing like all teams do under Doc. Man. I wonder what the vibes are like in Milwaukee tonight. Do you think they're like, what is the excitement level going to be for the Bucs, like for game 1 of the playoffs? Is it going to be high? Like, because like they could still talk themselves into, all right, we got Middleton. If we got Middleton, we got Dame, we got Giannis, got Lopez. I'm sure you looked it up before your pregame pod today with Ty. I did not get a chance to look it up, but here, maybe I'll look it up right now. How is this team doing with their main guys? I don't know why I'm like trying to. Oh wait, hold on. Andrew just sent me a tweet from Ty Windich, who is a Bucs content creator. This is from Ty Windich. Shout out to, he was a guest on the Knicks Film School Podcast. I thought the Bucs were at rock bottom, but getting closed out by Dante DiVincenzo and Isaiah Hartenstein with Giannis and Dame on the court is a new low. Well, Ty, someone has not been watching enough Knicks basketball if you are surprised that Dante DiVincenzo and Isaiah Hartenstein are closing you guys out. That is what I will say to that. And apparently there's some perhaps some buyer's remorse over the Dame trade, and that there's maybe some hot seats. Loser energy is a term that is being thrown around. My goodness gracious. Okay, so times are not great right now in the greater Milwaukee area, which is, again, that's unfortunate. Here, I'll throw them a bone here. With Lopez, Lillard, Middleton, and Antetokounmpo on the court in 657 minutes this year, they're a plus 16.1. That's great. That's really good. That's really good, right? It's really good. I don't know. We'll see what happens in the playoffs. I think that team is still, if they could get their heads out of their asses, I think they'd be a bear to deal with, but we'll see. All right. Thank you, Andrew Claudio. Robert W. Cross, my lord. Robert, you're making up for lost time and then some. What will be the focus of the newsletter? The fact that they won a great game? I don't know. I haven't had a chance to write it yet because I'm sitting here talking to you, which I greatly appreciate. Don't get me wrong. I do. I kid around with you, Robert, but you're my boy. Yeah, I don't know. What's the topic of the newsletter? I feel like the topic of the newsletter is the topic of the season. It's resilience. It's what I said at the top. There is no more resilient team in the league. They are resilient in the face of injuries. They are resilient in the face of losses. They are resilient game to game. They are resilient half to half. They are resilient play to play. Their resilience defines them, individually and collectively. And because of that, more than talent, although God knows they have a lot of talent, more than that, that is why they should not be ruled out as a team that can beat, as one of our earlier super chatters said, beat any team in a series. So that will probably be somewhere in my newsletter, which will be sent out in 4 hours and 50 minutes from right now. Is that it? I think that might be it. All right, that's it. Got over the 2 hour and 40-minute mark. How you doing, guys? Thank you, everybody, especially Robert Cross and Andrew Claudio there at the end. You guys are awesome. Great night. Awesome, awesome, awesome win. Really, it's amazing how one big game like this could take so much of the edge off. And give us some real needed positive vibes heading into the last week of the basketball season. Life comes at you fast, you know? So thanks, everybody. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Don't forget, like the video, subscribe to the channel, give us a 5-star review, leave a nice rating. All of those things are wonderful and helpful, and we love you all. And we will be back with more fun and games very soon. Peace out.